Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 521 to 540. Chapter 521 My name is Marco. I'm the Phoenix. Damn, Ace. Foil Vista yelled. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Ace. Jozu slammed forward fiercely, and the Pirate Empress flashed to the side quickly, carrying the sweet fruit ability that can turn people into stone and kicked Jozu's back. Luffy. Blocked by the aftermath of the fight between Kuzan and the big criminals on the 6th floor, could only cry helplessly, and had an unprecedented clear understanding of their own vulnerability. Isan. The Bluefish man growled. Ah, it's scary. Kuzan said in a troubled voice, I won't be able to win. On the sea outside Marineford, a group of people above Impel Down, which had fallen into the water but still partially exposed, had their heads exposed. What? Is that Straw Hat Boy the dragon's son? Damn Marine. Action. Babies. Let's save the dragon's son. The guy with a big face said loudly. Die, evil incarnate. On the execution stand, Sengoku thought so softly. Ace, Luffy. Garp waved his fist mechanically, and was easily dodged by his opponent. Another heavy punch hit his chest, and the old man was blown away again. Oh. Vlad smiled and flew leisurely left and right in the air. Beams of light flashed past him. What will happen? The spear has been raised high, and the time of execution is now. Whoosh. The eyes of the 4 execution soldiers were extremely silent. They were all veteran soldiers who had experienced many battles, and they had a lot of ideas in this industry. This kind of execution was really easy to catch. Even though it was a live execution for the whole world this time, they were quite confident that they could complete the task perfectly, and the spears in their hands were already stabbed out in a hurry. Still 10 centimeters away. The last 10 centimeters. 2 prisoners will lose their lives. Boom. As if a meteor fell, a black shadow hit the execution platform heavily. What? Sengoku exclaimed, and his body started to drift. Squeak. A sour sound rang out. The solid execution platform had begun to tilt, and in the impact of the unknown source, the specially built solid execution platform also began to be damaged. Ah. Wow. Marine soldier in charge of the execution was even more unbearable, and fell to the ground in a panic. Yeah. The straw hat that fell from the sky was rolling on the ground. Not far away, the straw hat Luffy, who was being held by Seastone, raised his head in confusion. Huh? What happened? What? Not far from the straw hat, Firefist sat up and looked a little surprised. What happened? Boom. What's wrong? Some heavy noise. Sengoku fell to the ground. What happened? The execution platform suddenly collapsed. Marshal Sengoku. The executed soldier who was thrown into a daze stood up a little dazedly. Never mind. Sengoku gritted his teeth. The execution continues. Yes. Walked towards the straw hat and Fire Fist step by step. Are you still going to die? The straw hat looked unacceptable. Aren't you going to let us go? How the hell do you understand it? Ace said loudly. Execution. There was no fluctuation on his face, and the spear in his hand was raised high again. There. The blue flames filled the air, and the big blue bird's wings rolled up violently, and the violent force directly blasted the execution soldiers into the sky. Hey, it looks just right. A man with blue flames wrapped around his body and his arms turned into 2 huge wings stood in front of the straw hat and Fire Fist, and said with a low laugh, Ace, I've been waiting for a long time. Ma Marco. Ace said blankly. What? Is it Ace's partner? The straw hat giggled without feeling nervous. I'm saved. Ha, it's all right. Ace, and Ace's younger brother, why are you asking? Named Marco, known as the Phoenix, raised his head and smiled, because of cum. Phoenix Marco. Marshal Sengoku gritted his teeth, and the event shifted in the other direction again. Why did you appear here? Was it you who crashed the execution platform? Why? Hey. Marco twitched his lips and smiled. If you want to ask why. Maybe it's because of the bondage of the family. But is it really a coincidence? Marco's heart is not without turbulence, the bear guy. Since it's here. Sengoku kicked his eyes, his invisible aura spread out, his body swelled in an instant, and a huge golden Buddha appeared on the square. Then I'll execute you together. Damn, it's just one person's words. Marco frowned. The execution won't end. It's up to me now. Sengoku raised his right hand high. Execution on you. Ohm. A strong shock wave roared out. Quote. Marco stretched out his arms, his huge wings covering the sky. Neat. Marco's eyes bulged, and there was a trace of blood overflowing from the corner of his mouth in an instant. The shock wave sent by Sengoku was different from ordinary attacks, just like the shock of Luji's Six Kings Spear. From the inside out, invisible, the shock wave can sweep every corner of the body. Can't dodge. Marco's strong wings. Against a strong shock wave, the undead blue giant bird has risen into the wind. Ace is behind. What a tough guy. Sengoku snorted coldly. Since you want to block it, then block it. Ohm. The other palm was also shot out, and the double shock wave instantly hit Marco. Wow. A large mouthful of blood suddenly poured out of Marco's mouth, and his body was almost blown away. The man clenched his teeth and resisted, not retreating. However, the situation was not as bad as it seemed, and blue flames began to surge. Move, the man's injuries have begun to recover. Phoenix, what a troublesome ability. Sengoku whispered, then see how long you can last. Get out of the way. Marco, you're going to die. Ace shouted. Of course he knew that Marco's recovery was limited. When the injury reached a certain level, he couldn't recover. Marco was not invincible. What nonsense. Ace. Marco yelled, you're my brother. Do mere pirates still talk about brotherhood on this just island? Sengoku roared, adding further strength. How many people in this sea have sleepless nights because of your presence? Wow. Marco's mouth was stained with blood, but he was smiling. Who cares what other people think? I'm exhausted just protecting my family. The name is Marco, the phoenix that soars to protect his family. Marshal Sengoku found the shadow of the Redford ship in the waters ahead. Marine soldiers suddenly shouted. The red hair pirates are here. Chapter 522 Body as Shield. What? Sengoku was shocked. The shock wave was suddenly closed. Marco broke through the restraint instantly, and did not mean to entangle with Sengoku. He directly fluttered his wings and rushed towards Ace Luffy on the ground, although he was not interested in the red hair. I was surprised by what happened, but it doesn't matter now. As long as Ace can be rescued, it will be a great victory for the Whitebeard pirates. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Don't think about it. Sengoku shouted angrily. Of course, the experienced veteran would not make such a low-level mistake. He pushed his right palm in front of him, and the surging shock wave roared out again. Hey! Marco let out a whimper, and was blasted out by Sengoku's shock wave, rushing into the sky far away. Just follow the original plan. Sengoku exclaimed, don't let the red hair pirates board Marineford. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. The messenger replied loudly and ran straight to the other side. Now, the execution continues. Sengoku's eyes are fixed on the two guys in front of him. His teeth are gnashing, not just because of the father of the two. On the other hand, these two guys are the most sinful pirates, the sons of Whitebeard of Fire Fist Ace. Straw Hat Luffy dared to attack the Enies lobby. Of course, the biggest reason for Sengoku's anger is that these two guys are the grandsons of his old guy. The old guy fought for Marine all his life, but he was stained with these two boys. The government has even targeted him. An idea was born, in order to reassure the government. Go to hell, sinful bloodlines. Glittering fists clenched, the jet black hockey wrapped around his right hand. Sengoku punched the Straw Hat and Fire Fist with a heavy punch. Don't think about it. The chirping of Chinyu resounded in the sky, and the big blue bird rushed towards the Buddha again, and its sharp claws wrapped around Haki and grabbed it directly towards Sengoku's face. "It's annoying," Sengoku said angrily. Dash 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 dash. Well. The man standing on the surrounding wall with his arms crossed, his chest opened, his eyes, and the shadow of a ship was revealed from the gap in the ice wall in the distance. "Ha is finally here." Whoosh. The man had already jumped up and landed directly on the Moby Dick like a big bird, and then with a firm footing, he had already landed towards the sea in another place. Dash 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 dash. "Hey, are you still late?" As the ship was getting closer, the man with a cigarette said softly, "It looks like we've been fighting for a while." "Is this Kuzan's ability?" The fat man with a big chicken leg in his mouth smiled and said, "It's a big deal. The entrance to the harbor has been completely blocked. Captain, the boat can't get in." "Hey, what is that? Is there any such building near Marine headquarters?" Named Yasop was surprised. Following his line of sight, he could see a black building rising out of the sea. "Looks like something amazing happened before." Standing on the bow, the red-haired man had his hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist, but, now is not the time to care about these things. "View," quote. The high voice sounded, and the dazzling laser shot directly from the ice surface in the distance. The target was the Redford. "Damn." Beckman whispered, "Did you know we'd be back early in the morning? We've already prepared, but you're so cunning. Marine." The dazzling laser is already in sight, and the red hair doesn't mind at all. "Hey." The low-pitched business sounded, and a very amazing scene appeared. The dazzling laser was actually divided into two, and the two lines crossed the red-haired side and disappeared into the sky. "It seems that it is not easy for us to get in," the redhead said with some trouble. In the distance, on the ice, black and tall figures were already crowded, and the robot named PX was ready to go. In front of them, two figures were particularly eye-catching. Hey, Guillaume, can you date me after the war is over?" "Whose name is Tokikake, code-named Chaton Tokikake," said with a smiley face. "I refuse." The woman with her eyes fixed on the fast-approaching ship bluntly refused. "Ah, Guillaume-chan is still as indifferent as ever." Chaton Tokikake slumped in an instant as if he had suffered a major blow. "Stop playing tricks, Tokikake," Momosugi said coldly, "the opponent is not someone we can easily deal with." "I know." When Tokikake turned his head, the man's body had already fallen in front of him. "Oh, you're going to shoot." Chaton Tokikake looked surprised. "Hawkeye." This time, the man with eagle-like eyes pulled out the black knife on his back, and said softly, "He has to do it with all his strength." "Hey." The long knife swung down sharply, and the green slash roared out, like a surging ocean wave, slashing towards the Redford. "Ah, trouble." The bow of the boat, there was a wry smile on his red-haired face. "This guy, at this time." "However, then there is no way to do it. Only get on it." Although he was facing a predicament, in an instant, the man showed a heroic smile. "Everyone. Since someone is blocking, then we will. Come in." The red hair jumped up, pressing the sword and charging towards the earth-shattering slash. "Hey, if you want to stop us, come and stop us." Beckman smiled. "Non-combatants stay on board, combatants, come on." Oh. Outside of Marineford, on the icefield, there is a King Shichibukai, 2 Marine Alternates Admiral, a group of Marine soldiers, a bunch of PX series robots versus 4 emperors, the red-haired pirates. It is really a very lively thing. At this time, inside the harbor, under the surrounding wall. Boom. Quote. Akainu took 2 steps back in a row. His face was not good-looking, and his right arm was a little numb. The strength is really not weak. Call. Whitebeard breathed a sigh of relief. There was some sweat on his face. The temperature of the magma was no joke. What a tough kid. The strongest man in the world, hey, even though he's a pirate. Akainu clenched his fists and rushed towards Whitebeard as soon as he stepped on it. A strong smell of sulfur rose from his hands, but I'll admit it. Whitebeard, you bastard! Get out of the way! Whitebeard's mood is not as leisurely as Akainu's. His two sons are facing the enemy's attack inside the surrounding wall. His mood can be imagined. Boom! The two fists slammed together heavily, and the violent shock wave spread with vibration and magma. Whitebeard is very strong, super strong. Even if he is old, it is not an exaggeration to be called the strongest man in the world. The power of the shaking fruit is extremely terrifying, and it is not impossible to shatter the island. Cooperating with Whitebeard is terrifying the ultimate strength and the powerful hockey cultivation base. This man is really powerful. However, Akainu is not an ordinary guy. Magma fruit is also extremely terrifying. Compared with the powerful destructive power of shocking fruit, magma fruit has a more powerful lethality, just like a volcanic eruption. Akainu with the terrifying explosive power of a volcanic eruption, combined with the fiery temperature of the magma, when it hits a person, it suddenly becomes a hole. Ah! Whitebeard stepped back suddenly, clutching his chest with a disgusting look on his face. It's just this time. What's wrong, Whitebeard? Akainu roared, the hot breath on his fist spurted out, and the fist turned into lava was already slamming towards Whitebeard's chest. Even you can't get enough time. Daddy. Why this time? In the distance, foils, diamonds, all the hearts of the Whitebeard pirates have been grabbed. Hey. Boom. The magma fist slammed heavily on the man's chest. What? Akainu was shocked. Really, thank you for your hospitality. Chapter 523 The ability of me and you is to overcome. Akainu's fist can be said to be the most lethal fist in the world. This man's original strength is extremely amazing. Magma fruit has endowed him with a terrifying explosive force like a volcanic eruption. It is one of the few that can add armament's fruit ability, and finally adds high temperature. To be honest, hockey is not strong enough. This punches a big hole in the body, and for ordinary people, it is as powerful as despair. However, now someone has easily blocked his attack. You guy. Akainu stared blankly at the man who suddenly appeared in front of him, very surprised. This was the first time he had seen such a thing. Woo ha ha. Suck it. With some enjoyment, he licked the lava that sputtered to the corner of his mouth, and Vlad's mighty dragon had an expression of enjoyment on his face. The taste is unexpected and not bad. Mr. Akainu. Taste is really good. Akainu's magma is much better than the magma made by Vlad himself. The temperature is extremely high, it has exceeded the limit of normal magma, and it is more viscous. If you have to find one to describe it, it tastes good like sesame paste with added sugar. Fire Dragon. Akainu took 2 steps back, the usual condensation on his face. What do you want to do? Hey, Senior Whitebeard, this looks really ugly. Vlad ignored Akainu, turned his head and smiled. Is it really lost to the years? Cough cough. Whitebeard coughed twice, the corners of his mouth actually overflowing with blood, but after the initial stiffness, his body has recovered. This man who has been in the New World for 20 years said, no one in the world will be forever invincible. Of course it's the same. Hey, that's it. Vlad smiled, yeah, it's not your time anymore. Go ahead, Senior Whitebeard, I've opened the door for you. Go and have a good chat with your good folks. What? Whitebeard frowned. Click. Under Whitebeard's feet, the door opened instantly, and Whitebeard's eyes changed, then he returned to normal and fell directly into the hole. What did you do? Vlad turned sideways, but did not hide. The giant fist made of hot magma had already slammed into him. Yeah, what a thrill. Akainu Admiral. Vlad twitched the corners of his mouth. I'm a little flattered. Of course, it has been said for a long time that tricks such as high temperature and flame have no effect on Vlad at all, but the strong impact can make him sway a little. Damn. Akainu lowered his eyebrows. Such an ability. Understood. Vlad smiled. You're Logia, S magma fruit ability, and I am mythical, S dragon fruit ability. What is a fire dragon? A fire dragon can only roll in a volcano, so, understand. If it is magma that can bury everything, then I am a fire dragon that feeds on magma. Quote. My ability with you is the relationship between superior and inferior. Do you want to go up and down? A sneer appeared on Akainu's face. How dare you say it? Fire dragon. Because. Vlad laughed, and the flames shot into the sky. Hey. The white gold figure broke through the flame and charged directly towards Akainu. I'm super strong. Boom. The fiery fist had slammed into Akainu's face heavily, and Vlad's speed, Akainu, was really unresponsive when he faced it for the first time. Boom. The violent force directly knocked Akainu into the air. The man slammed directly into the surrounding wall behind. The magma overflowed, and the solid surrounding wall was cracked. The powerful force was undoubtedly revealed. Hey, do you understand a little bit now? Vlad smiled. The ability between the two is indeed a relationship that can be called superior and inferior. Akainu's magma has no effect on Vlad. At the same time, Vlad's flame can even burn magma. A super powerful flame. Then, go ahead. Vlad laughed and turned into a black shadow and rushed towards Akainu. Ah, what a mad boy. A wave of his arm, the smoke dissipated immediately. Akainu twisted his neck and stepped out of the black mist. The expression on his face was not good. Go ahead, Mr. Akainu. Vlad laughed loudly. His legs were already shining with dazzling brilliance, and a whip leg was already swiped towards Akainu. Dragon fist, big shatter, supernova explosion. Stop being arrogant. Akainu roared. His right fist suddenly became pitch black. His fist went up, and the place where his shoulder went down turned into magma, and the rushing magma was accumulating power like a volcano. Boom. The terrifying explosion was violently excited, and everything around was swept away by white gold flames. Anyone who was close to the vicinity, whether it was marine or a pirate, was swept in. Yeah. Vlad's expression was a little surprised. Such a ferocious blow did not cause any damage to Akainu. This guy. That's right, this man is a man who can fight with Whitebeard. This is not something that ordinary people can do. Whitebeard is undoubtedly the strongest in the world. There is a gap between anyone and him. Akainu can compete with him like this. The men beat each other with fists, and you can imagine how hard his fists are. Not bad. Akainu's head like a whirlwind. When Akainu raised his hand suddenly, blocking Vlad's tail directly, and the strong shock wave spread from there. Bang. However, no matter how fast Akainu's reaction was, it couldn't be faster than Vlad's free will. His body moved as he wanted, and he stomped directly on Akainu's chest. The man was blown away by Vlad again. Hey. Vlad smiled, and Vivi, the four wings behind his back, fluttered, and his body had already shot out, catching up with Akainu, who was flying backwards. Hey Akainu Admiral. Vlad smiled and punched Akainu directly in the chest. Boom. Akainu's fighting experience is not unremarkable, and his reaction speed is extremely fast. He stepped on the ground heavily, and his retreat stopped instantly, and his waist twisted, and it was also a heavy punch. Again, the same result was turned upside down. Cut. It's really hard to deal with. Even with such restrained ability of the fruit, it is still not easy for Vlad to take down Akainu. This guy, even with the fighting technique, is still very strong. You. Akainu let out a roar, and the other fist slammed directly at Vlad. Vlad's mouth twitched. When attacking, he was the strongest, but at the same time, he was the weakest. Vlad just turned slightly to the side, already dodging Akainu's heavy blow. What? Vlad could see such an emotion in Akainu's eyes. This guy was just as ignorant as Kaido before. How could such a close-range attack fail easily? Fly. Vlad kicked up with a heavy kick, directly kicking Akainu into the sky. Humph, this time, you're cool. Vlad smiled, Vivi's wings fluttered, and people were already soaring into the sky. There. The flames roared from Vlad's body, and then contracted towards Vlad's right hand, and a small fireball appeared in Vlad's hand. Apollo. Vlad's hand lightly loosened, and flames spewed out from the ball, turning into a phantom in the blink of an eye and catching up with Akainu directly. What? In Akainu's astonished eyes, the fireball spread out immediately, and a strong flame had enveloped him. The terrifying temperature didn't make Akainu feel better, and screams came out of his mouth, and a man like Akainu actually made a scream. One can imagine what kind of pain he faced. Akainu didn't lose his athletic ability. Moonstep was used immediately, and he stepped heavily in the air, breaking out from the fireball in an instant. Hey, are you surprised? I like to run, dance, and even more beautiful. Just rushing out of the fireball made by Vlad, Vlad's heavy kick had already hit Akainu's face. Akainu's cold and hard face was instantly twisted, and the terrifying high temperature instantly acted on it. See the sound of la 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 was very noticeable. Hang the golden hook upside down. Whoosh. Just like a football, Akainu was directly kicked into the square by Vlad and slammed into the marine headquarters behind the execution platform. Woo. Vlad let out a slow sigh of relief. It's cool. And then, Vlad turned his head and looked at the sky not far away. The yellow flashes and blue thunder were intertwined. For Vlad, Kizaru was much more difficult than Akainu. He was able to escape from the man's hands. Reason, God, that guy should be able to hold on for a while, then. Just help the Whitebeard pirates again. Vlad smiled, open the door for them. Hi yo. Chapter 524 Into the Plaza. Damn, Marco the Phoenix, get out of the way. Sengoku roared. The execution was repeatedly blocked by this guy in front of him, and the anger in his heart had already accumulated to a very high level. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Hey, this is forgivable. Marco smiled and fell from the sky. His wings were suddenly rolled up. All the Marines close to the Straw Hat and Fire Fist were directly blasted away. Countless bullets hit him directly. The fluctuations of armament flashed on his body, and he was alone. Fighting alone in such an astonishing array of Marines is really hard work. Then let's die together. Sengoku roared. His palms swelled suddenly, and he slapped forward heavily, and a shock wave far stronger than before roared out. Marco spread his wings, held the straw hat and tightly in his arms, and covered his back with armament hockey, directly hitting Sengoku's shock wave. Blood poured out of Marco's mouth and splashed directly on Fire Fist Ace's face. Marco, leave me alone. Ace shouted so loudly, run. Run. You'll die if you go on like this. Hey, Ace, how did I die? Marco's entire face was shaking. A strong shock wave spread in his body. Every corner of the body was severely impacted. The recovered blue flames repaired desperately, and then, in the next instant, the body would suffer heavy damage. I'm a phoenix, oh. Wow. Another mouthful of blood poured out of Marco's mouth. Damn. Ace has never thought for a moment to hate himself so much now. Why do you want to do this for me? I shouldn't be alive. Idiot, shut up. Marco scolded. Ace, when everyone is dying for you, what are you complaining about yourself? Listen to me, Ace, everyone wants you to live. Let's go back to the new world with everyone alive. Quote. The man named Ace burst into tears. That's great. Ace's partner. The Straw Hat giggled. Such a terrifying ability. Sengoku whispered, but since you're courting death yourself, then. Sengoku, my sons are really taken care of by you. Boom. It was very abrupt. A door on the ground slammed open. The thick right arm protruded from the ground. The earthworm-like meridians on the arm bulged. The fist was clenched tightly, and the transparent halo above the fist lingered. What? Sengoku's pupils shrank suddenly. But it was too late. The tall figure had already protruded from the ground, and a heavy punch hit the belly of the huge golden Buddha directly. Ah! Sengoku clenched his teeth, blood flowed out of his mouth, and the terrifying force directly blasted his huge body into the air. The golden glittering stomach was directly sunken, and the body seemed to follow the shattered air in an instant. Torn apart. Ah! The man rushing up from the ground, Whitebeard yelled, "Get out of the way!" Whitebeard, quote. Sengoku roared, and was directly blown away by Whitebeard's punch, drawing a poignant arc in the air, and fell heavily on the ruins of the original execution platform. Hoo-hoo. Whitebeard frowned, and there was a lot of sweat on his forehead. He resisted the which was covering his chest. The man turned around with a heroic smile on his face. "My son, wait for a long time." "Yes, yes. Whitebeard. The strongest man in the world. How the hell did he get in? Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Don't get close to him." The morale of Marine's soldiers was devastated, and they flinched and retreated, not daring to move forward. After all, the invincible Marshal Sengoku had been knocked out, so what could they do? "Old Daddy." Ace popped his head out from under Marco's wings, burst into tears, and yelled, I. "Silly boy." Whitebeard smiled, "If you cry, it's enough in front of me." "Daddy." Marco was breathing heavily, his body a little limp, but there was a smile on his face, because he knew that he had done a good job. "Great job, Marco." Whitebeard smiled, with a reassuring smile on his face. "You're doing a great job, boy." "Hey." Marco smiled. Boom. Continuous explosions emanated from the Marine headquarters building behind the ruins of the execution platform. It wasn't long before the war started, and the solemn Marine headquarters had already turned into ruins. "Garp, you bastard." Far away, Whitebeard could hear the voice, "What the hell are you doing? Is your fist too old to move it?" "Tisk, it's really energetic." Whitebeard smiled. "That old thing Writer." Although he is reluctant to admit it, it is impossible for them to have any friendship without a little bit of friendship, as opponents who have fought on the sea of the same era. Kakakakakakaka. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the surrounding wall behind. "Well." Whitebeard looked a little surprised, and then showed a smile, "That kid with fire dragon." With the sound of clicking, 10 huge doors opened on the surrounding wall, and the originally solid surrounding wall was opened like a door. In an instant, the isolated harbor and the square were instantly connected. "What?" Kizaru, who was smashed into photons by a lightning bolt, condensed his body, and the expression on his face was not good. "Yeah, ha ha ha." Higher in the sky, Enel then waved. Several huge thunder dragons condensed, and rushed towards Kizaru. "Don't be distracted." "Ah, what a hassle." Kizaru lowered his head, the light on his glasses flickered. "I can't play with you anymore." "Door." The sturdy man's eyes lit up, and then he shouted, "Everyone! Come with me. Ace, it's in front." The man's body was covered with a layer of diamonds, and he rushed straight towards the door. Along the way, all those who tried to stop him were mercilessly knocked away, ranging from broken bones to death. Rival, unstoppable. Behind the man, a group of pirates roared and followed, and rushed directly into the door. Quote. The beautiful woman turned a blind eye to the man's actions and casually watched the pirates rush into the door. Boa Hancock. Quote. The man in the cloak of justice confronted the woman and asked, "What are you doing? Why are you watching the pirates pass by?" "Well." The beautiful eyes glanced casually. Crack. Marine has fallen to the ground, and his head has been turned into rubble. "Are you here, questioning the concubine? Since you want to let them in." The woman looked up at the sky, wondering what she was thinking. Quote. Exclamation mark. Go, go. The man in the pink feather cloak crouched on the surrounding wall and laughed loudly. "Let me see how far you can go." Whitebeard pirates finally broke into the plaza through the door that opened on the surrounding wall around the plaza. "Daddy, Ace, Marco. We're here." Chapter 525 Mutation. Era, what trouble? The surrounding ground has completely turned into a piece of ice, and the man codenamed Kuzan said softly, "Did they still rush in? Really? Kill him. If we don't kill him, we won't be able to leave." The escapees from hell shouted like that. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Really? Kuzan looked back impatiently. Scoff. The huge iceberg soared into the sky, and the winding glaciers were like a labyrinth. Just in the blink of an eye, all the powerful prisoners were divided. I have to be serious too. Come on one by one. First of all, the most troublesome. I'll take care of you first. There was a rare energy in Kuzan's eyes. Rain no Shiryu. Hey, I can't ask for it. The man with the knife in his hand looked extremely crazy. It was really a wrong decision to make this man the chief guard of the big prison. This is not a man who is content with loneliness. What he longs for is fighting, blood, and iron. With fire. Please wait, Mr. Kuzan, Mr. Shiryu. Suddenly such a voice came from one side, and an ordinary-looking marine soldier suddenly appeared in the middle of the two of them. His face looked ordinary and was hidden by the shadow of Marine's hat. You two, please stop. The man's voice was low. Well. Kuzan looked surprised. You bastard. CP. VV's expression on Shilu's face disappeared. Yes, Mr. Shiryu. CP's spy said in a low tone. Gorosei 5 elders, let me bring you something. Oh. Shiryu raised his eyebrows. Mr. Kuzan, leave this to us. Man did not rush to convey the spirit of the Gorosei 5 elders meeting, but turned his head to Kuzan and said, please go and deal with the fire dragon. That man is really tough. Oh. Kuzan noticed that there were quite a few marine soldiers surrounding him at some point. Although they looked ordinary, each of them exuded a strong aura. Oh. Dash 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 dash. Prepare for battle. Whitebeard pirates. Rush into the square. Shoot, shoot. Draw the knife. Draw the knife. Battle ready. The noises of the Marines came one after another, and the sudden battle made them a little bit unable to turn around. Get out of the way. Marine. The tall man shouted, you are blocking Lao Su's way. Just like a locomotive, all the guys who stood in front of Diamond Jozu were easily blasted away. With him as the leader, the captains of the Whitebeard pirates had already rushed over, and behind them, the vice admiral of the marine headquarters were chasing after them. Reluctant. No one noticed that behind a door, a few guys who probed their brains quietly entered the square. Is this so easy? The guy with the long nose is a little confused. No one cares about us at all. The orange-haired woman spoke with lingering fears. Or we are too weak. Chlorella was panting heavily, and his arms were shaking a little. The guys who came here, whether it was marine or pirates, were the most elite group of people in the world, and it was very difficult to deal with. Anyway. Curly Brow Chef said, it's very close to Luffy. Kala la la la. Whitebeard laughed loudly, that boy Fire Dragon did a good job. He. I knew that guy was a good guy. The straw hat slowly picked up the hat from the ground, put it on his head laboriously, and smiled. That guy. Fire Fist remembered the guy who had a relationship and nodded, maybe. There is no time to hesitate. Now that Ace has been rescued. Then our war is over. Whitebeard swung his knife heavily, and all the marine soldiers who approached were blown away. Marco. Retreat with Ace and Straw Hat. Oh. Marco wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth, his arms turned into wings again. Jozu. Whitebeard growled. Dad. Jozu responded loudly immediately. Don't go any further. Go back. Whitebeard yelled, Ace has been rescued. The war is our victory. Oh. A look of joy appeared on Jozu's face, everyone has it. Retreat. Oh. Pirates, excited. Fly, Marco. Whitebeard laughed, bring Ace and Straw Hat and fly. Oh. Marco, feet that turned into claws directly grabbed Ace and the straw hat on the ground, and soared into the sky. Don't want to go. With a loud shout, the golden giant Buddha rushed out from the ruins, with a look of extreme anger on his face. Whitebeard. Kula la la la, Sengoku, quote. Whitebeard laughed, if you can stop it, try it. Sengoku is rude, there is still blood on the corner of his mouth, but raising his hand is a majestic shock wave, the air screams, and the ground begins to crack. Kala la la la. Whitebeard clenched his right fist tightly, and slammed it out with a heavy punch. The air cracked inch by inch, and the terrifying shock force and the shock wave blasted by Sengoku directly slammed together. At this moment, the world changes color. Marineford's square began to shake, dense bottomless cracks began to appear, and above the sky, the clouds attracted by Enel tended to be blown away directly. Dad. Marco turned his head worriedly. Of course he noticed that Whitebeard had some of Vivi's arched body before. Marco, just fly. Whitebeard laughed. Are you worried that Lao Su will lose? Oh what? View, quote. Marco's response didn't come out smoothly. A gleaming light had passed by him. Whitebeard's eyes widened suddenly, and a small hole had been added to his chest, penetrating his body, and blood flowing from it. Wow! Almost like a chain reaction, Whitebeard suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blood, his right hand with all his strength suddenly lost its strength, and the disease that plagued him finally broke out. Of course Sengoku would not miss such an opportunity, clenched his right fist, took a step forward. Ah! Sengoku roared, his right fist was covered by a dark haki, and his all-out punch had already slammed into Whitebeard's chest. The man's back was protruding with great strength, and there was a clear sound of bone cracking. Sent out. This wasn't over yet. Above Sengoku's fist, the shock wave roared out, and the violent shock wave hit every corner of Whitebeard's body recklessly. Hey! Whitebeard let out a pained cry, and was blasted away by Sengoku's fist. Drink! Sengoku shouted again and shot with his left palm, and a double powerful shock wave roared out without any hindrance, hitting Whitebeard directly. Boom! The sky far away, in the dull eyes of Diamond Jozu, Whitebeard landed heavily in front of him. Daddy! Marco roared, bloodshot eyes spread in his eyes, and an invisible fear filled his heart. That's not good, if you let the prisoner take away. Behind, a strong light is flickering. What? Marco only had time to look back, and the goal was the dazzling flash. Light speed kick. Hey! With a very slight voice, the shining calf slammed heavily on Marco's face, and the terrifying power exploded instantly. Whoosh! Marco didn't have the slightest resistance. Just like a ball, he was directly smashed into the ground, and a huge pothole appeared on the square, and the cobweb-like cracks spread. Marine is hard to do. Kizaru gently landed on the ground and directly stepped on the fire fist who fell from the air and was still struggling. Then, the execution, continue. The situation suddenly turned around. Chapter 526 Disruptor. Daddy. Marco, quote. Across the distance, Vlad could hear Diamond Jozu and Fire Fist Ace's astonishingly loud voices. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Da. Gently landed on the surrounding wall. Vlad had regained his human form. Wow, haven't people been rescued? Really, things are impermanent. It's amazing. Da Flamingo, who was also standing on the surrounding wall, laughed hilariously. Fire Dragon, he did an amazing thing. Well. Vlad frowned at the guy. Are you interested in joining forces with me? Da Flamingo smiled. If we join forces with you, it's not impossible to destroy the world, right? Da. With a soft sound, the beautiful woman also jumped onto the surrounding wall, her beautiful eyes calmly watching the situation on the square. Oh Tilda. Vlad glanced at the woman with some admiration, then turned to look at the flamingo, and said solemnly, cooperation. Me and you. Yes. Flamingo laughed. I remember rejecting you already. Vlad chuckled, I said it before, how old are you? Working with Lao Su. Yeah tilde. The smile on the flamingo's face faded little by little. Don't talk to me. Vlad smiled, although you are Luo's prey. If you dare to chat in front of Lao Su will kill you. Wild aura erupted. PFF tilde. Suddenly there was a chuckle. Well. Vlad turned his head in annoyance. How arrogant. Fire Dragon Vlad. Boa Hancock said, with an unpredictable tone. It's okay. Vlad looked up at the sky, and a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and landed beside him. I am sorry, Captain. Enel said apologetically, didn't hold that guy down. Nothing. Vlad smiled, that guy wants to go and no one can stop him. You want to go back and make peace with everyone. After that, there will be a tough fight. Yeah. Vlad raised his eyebrows suddenly. Brother, it's been a long time no see. Kara. The surrounding wall was instantly frozen, and a certain man stood under the surrounding wall and stared at Vlad with dead fish eyes. Oh. Vlad smiled, Mr. Kuzan, long time no see. How arrogant. The woman who jumped into the air to avoid the freezing thought, the most arrogant person in the world is you. Fire Dragon, nothing will make you odd. Really, it's enviable. Dash 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 dash. Nice job, Borsellino. Cough cough. Sengoku exclaimed. Kizaru's well-placed attack matched him with ease to hit Whitebeard hard, and he fought off the phoenix and recaptured the two sinners. It's really beautiful. Sengoku coughed twice, blood spilled from his mouth, and his hands covered his stomach unconsciously. The previous blow from Whitebeard's best effort was not ineffective, it was enough to score Marineford. For the second attack, Whitebeard certainly had no reason to be merciful to his opponent, and Sengoku was not lightly injured. Oh, I was praised. Kizaru looked a little embarrassed. Should I raise my salary? Mr. Sengoku. More on that later, Borsellino. Sengoku exclaimed, the execution continues. Understood. Kizaru laughed, and he stretched out two fingers, a shining light flickering on his fingers, then, the execution begins. You bastards. Fire Fist, who was trampled under his feet by Kizaru, roared, tears falling from the corners of his eyes, you bastards. Huh, are you going to die again? Straw Hat blinked. Stop it, asshole. In the huge pothole, the phoenix entwined with blue flames rose into the sky, and the recovery of his injuries was very slow. Since the battle began, his injuries have been very serious. Don't even think about going there. Sengoku roared, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, the giant palm shoved violently, and a majestic shock wave roared out, hitting Marco heavily. Hey! Marco screamed and was blasted away by the shock wave. Ace! Approaching the surrounding wall, Diamond Jozu turned his head in shock and blurted out an angry shout. Ace! Behind the diamond, Whitebeard slowly stood up, gasping for breath, as the damn body already at this point. Don't try to run. Whitebeard pirates. He turned his head slightly, and the vice admirals of Marine's headquarters had already rushed up. The strongest in the world is not Whitebeard, but time. Goodbye then. Kizaru laughed, Straw Hats, and Fire Fist. Luffy. Near Whitebeard's group, a sea soldier was kicked away with a heavy kick, and the curly-browed cook yelled. Luffy. No. Stop, Luffy. Z. In Kizaru's hand, the beam has been condensed to the limit. Again. Boom. The black shadow that fell from the sky slammed into the vicinity of Kizaru, and the smoke rose into the sky. Yeah, no way. Kizaru looked somewhat unbelievable. Hoo. Heavy and rapid breathing came from the smoke. Call. The breeze came slowly, the smoke gradually dissipated, and the man who was half squatting on the ground was very conspicuous. Zephyr. Sengoku rolled his eyes. Did you get sick at this time? Squatting on the ground with an ugly face, the man's name is Zephyr, Black Arm Zephyr. Hey, what are you doing? Above the sky, the man with two swords in his hands fell slowly, with an extremely ugly expression on his face. What are you doing? Zephyr. Hoo golden lion. Zephyr tried to stand up, but immediately began to pant heavily. He suffers from severe asthma. Normally, with such a disease, he has basically bid farewell to the front line. Once strenuous exercise, it is easy to get sick. Completely incapacitated, Zephyr's disease was much more serious than Whitebeard's. Time is a terrible thing. A trace of sadness flashed in Golden Lion's eyes. Have you gotten to this point already? Whoosh, whoosh. Panting heavily, his body trembled, but the man named Zephyr still stood up straight like a javelin. Hey, cough, cough. Laughing, the man laughed out loud. Golden Lion, hoo, are you pitying Lao Su? Ha. Jia ha 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 ha. Golden Lion suddenly burst out laughing. Poor. Hey, bastard, you are marine. I will pity you. I wish you died sooner. Oh, really? Kizaru Vivi was silent for a while, his hands clasped and pulled. A lightsaber appeared in his hands. It's really scary. Golden Lion. Borsellino, you bastard. Sengoku yelled, continue the execution. Sorry, Marshal Sengoku. Kizaru said insincerely, the Golden Lion is too dangerous. How can he be executed with peace of mind? When Kizaru appeared in front of Golden Lion in the blink of an eye, and the Tiankong cloud sword in his hand slashed heavily on Golden Lion's double swords, and a sharp breath spread out. Borsellino. Zephyr looked serious. You bastard. Chapter 527 awaited. Oh, Mr. Zephyr. The fiery red dragon man turned around at will, and flashed past the ice spear that was stabbed towards his body. Even so, he still felt a biting chill, and his body was a lot sluggish. It was a terrifying ability. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Vlad has always believed that Kuzan's fruit ability is super powerful, and he will be more convinced when facing him formally. It is indeed quite powerful. Mr. Zephyr. It wasn't just Vlad who was attracted by the movement on that side. Kuzan was also distracted. Zephyr was a legend of Marine. The current Marine executives were basically his disciples, and Kuzan was no exception. Pause. Mr. Kuzan. Vlad placed his right palm on his raised left index finger and made a pause gesture. The battle will be paused first. Well. Looking a little surprised, Kuzan landed gently on the frozen surrounding wall, and said, Fire Dragon, what do you mean? I mean yes. Vlad's observation hockey spread out, and he was out of the level of freedom. Soon, he found the person he was looking for. Maybe Mr. Zephyr needs some medicine. Kuzan was a little confused. Just when Kuzan didn't react, Vlad turned into a phantom and rushed into the marine queue in the square in an instant, grabbing someone directly. What? Suddenly the woman who was spinning around was a little confused, and then she heard such a voice. Yo, long time no see. Miss Ain. It's you guy. Of course Ain will not forget the man's voice. Because of this guy, the execution has been messed up this time. Of course it's me. Vlad grinned, revealing his white teeth. Go to hell. Ain shouted loudly, and two red light clusters had gathered in his hands. Don't make trouble. Vlad then threw Ain, causing the woman to let out a somewhat cute exclamation, and the light group had no idea where it was thrown. Damn. Ain was very angry. Well, Mr. Zephyr is sick. Vlad said so, then held Ain above his head. Did you bring your medicine? What? Ain was shocked. Let's go then. Vlad smiled and threw Ain directly with a heavy toss. So. Cold air swept towards Vlad. Can we start fighting now? Dash 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 dash. Damn, Borsellino this guy. Sengoku returned to his human form, looking a little annoyed, and walked to Zephyr's side, looking very concerned. Are you okay? Zephyr. No, it's okay. Zephyr sat on the ground, waving his hands hard. Ah! The scream came suddenly, and a woman flew directly towards this side. Ain. Sengoku, of course, knew this woman, who was Zephyr's current disciple. Crack! Sengoku casually caught Ain flying over. Marshal Sengoku. Ain hurriedly saluted. What's wrong, Ain? What happened? Sengoku asked. Nothing. Ain hesitated for a moment, then said, I'm here to deliver medicine to Teacher Zephyr. Really? Sengoku was overjoyed, just right. Ace. A loud roar came, and the huge blue bird roared again, and rushed towards the fire fist and the straw hat on the ground. It's really hard to deal with. Sengoku roared, and the huge golden Buddha appeared on the square again. With a big push, the shock wave hit Marco again. Get away from me, asshole. Damn. Marco's mouth was full of blood, and his eyes were bloodshot, but, unfortunately, he was not good at strength, and faced Sengoku's attack, he could only be blown away helplessly. Soldier. Execution. Sengoku yelled. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. Knowing who Sengoku was giving orders to, Marine, who was close to the straw hat and fire fist, consciously raised the musket in his hand, and the muzzle was aimed at the two people who were lying on the ground, unable to move. Dash 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 dash. Ace. On the other side of the square, Whitebeard roared, the knife in his hand swung violently, the strong vibration spread, and the surrounding marine soldiers flew into the sky like weeds. Get out of the way. Marine. Sparkling diamonds. Named Diamond Jozu collided, nothing could stop him at all, and all the marines were knocked away, as it should have been. Boom. Ground melted directly, and half of Jozu's body stuck directly into the ground. What? Jozu's eyes widened suddenly. Don't be too arrogant, pirates. Akainu, who had been out for a long time, emerged from the ground, his upper body was still in a semi-congealed state, and his right fist had turned into lava. Great Major Eruption. Quote. Boom. The huge magma fist hit Oz directly, and the terrifying power and temperature acted on Jozu at the same time. This guy was directly blown away and slammed into the ice wall behind. Jozu. Whitebeard was stunned for a moment, then looked back at his son, who had been enveloped in magma. Go to hell, Whitebeard. Akainu roared, and the magma fist was already blasting towards Whitebeard. Magma boy. Whitebeard roared, the anger in his heart was unspeakable, and he punched him heavily. Boom. Dash 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 dash. This time. Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief, there should be no spoilers, right? Boom. Before he finished speaking, a black shadow roared out from behind and landed heavily beside the two sinners. The surrounding marine soldiers were blown away. What? Sengoku was fascinated at the time, and the execution was really hard. Garp. Surprised Sengoku even more was that the person who flew over was none other than his old comrade in arms, the marine hero, Garp the Fist. You bastard, what are you doing? Sorry, Sengoku. The old man with a bruised nose and tattered clothes sat up, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment and laughing, the enemy is so strong. Garp, you bastard, what the hell are you doing? Before Sengoku spoke, another man had already spoken, and the man who fell not far behind Sengoku said loudly, so you don't take me seriously. Named Patrick Redfield was furious, and his opponent was distracted while fighting him, not paying attention at all. Damn, Rider. Sengoku twisted and raised his hand to strike a shock wave. Boom. The ruins of the execution platform behind were blown away. Like a heavy rain, it hit the Marine headquarters building behind, and the place that was close to the ruins because of the battle between Rider and Garp is now even more embarrassed. Ha ha ha, this is a bit interesting. Rider gently came and landed on the other side like a phantom, smiling, Sengoku, the next opponent will be you. Rider. The huge golden Buddha fell from the sky, and the huge fist slammed towards Writer's body. Hey! Writer backed sharply, dodging Sengoku's punch, and the majestic force easily shattered the ground. Great opportunity, quote. The persevering Marco flew from a distance again and rushed towards the fire fist and straw hat lying on the ground, ace. Too tender, quote. The vigorous figure rose into the sky, and the huge fist hit Marco directly. The man was blown away again, and fell heavily into the marine group. Da. Falling heavily on the ground, a man named Garp turned his back to two criminals, his two grandsons. Grandpa. The straw hat looked a little surprised. Luffy ace. Garp turned his head with some difficulty, the wound on his body was really painful. Garp, don't stand still. On the other side, Sengoku yelled, the execution continues. Execute it. What? Garp's eyes widened. It's only you now. Sengoku yelled, the execution is complete, it's our victory. What? Garp was a little stunned, his body trembling uncontrollably. Execution, ace. And, Luffy. Don't forget what you said. Sengoku yelled, you're Marine. Garp. I am. Tears welled up in the corners of the old man's eyes. Marine ah. Grandpa, leave Luffy alone. Ace yelled, at least, spare Luffy. Grandpa, is Grandpa going to kill me? Straw Hat looked surprised. Hey, no way. Grandpa, at least, let Ace go. Da. Garp took a step back involuntarily, his face blank. Garp, don't forget who you are. You are Marine's hero. Sengoku yelled, and Writer took the opportunity to punch him heavily in the stomach. Whitebeard's hand was severely injured, and this time it was hurt. Sengoku. Garp turned to look at his old comrade. Grandpa. Ace, Luffy. Marine's hero looked down at his two grandchildren. I'm in the end. There is no doubt that this man has never been so confused in his life. What to do? Get out of the way if you don't know what to do. A vigorous figure rushed out of the ruined headquarters building complex, and within a few ups and downs, it rushed to Garp's side, old man. Covered with the dark armament hockey pressed directly against Garp's chest, and the old man was bluntly blown away. What? Ace and Luffy raised their heads in surprise, and then their eyes could no longer be closed. The person who came decisively squatted down, took out two keys from his pocket, and started to unlock the fire fist and straw hat, with the brightest smile on his face, tears pouring out of it. Sorry, because it took a long time to find the key, it took a lot of time and waited for a long time. Then, it really is. Long time no see, Ace, Luffy. Chapter 528 ASL. Oh. Above the sky, Vlad soared in the sky like a big bird. The huge icicles rose from the ground, and the extreme low temperature spread out from above. Frozen ultra-low temperature. However, for Vlad, who was at ease, with his ultra-high speed, it was too difficult for such an attack to hit him, and he was able to fight while chatting. It's a coincidence. It's the time. Era, an unexpected change has taken place. Kuzan's face was a little gloomy, of course he saw what happened in the square, Mr. Garp, sure enough. Ah. Vlad laughed loudly, human, the reason why you are human is because human beings have feelings. This is an ugly gaffe for Marine. Kuzan said this, and when the soles of his feet slammed, stepping on the air, people were already flying in the direction of the square. Boom. The flame like a beam of light suddenly slammed in front of him, and a strong high temperature spread out. Hey, Mr. Kuzan, are you going there? Vlad retracted his fist lightly and said with a smile, isn't your enemy me? Tisk. Kuzan's body is colder than ever. What? The huge golden Buddha's eyes suddenly bulged, and the incredible emotion was well reflected in his twisted face. Garp. You bastard. What the hell are you doing? Quote. There was no response to Sengoku's anger, and the old man named Garp lay motionless on the ground. Sengoku. Do you look like Garp too? Sengoku turned back and yelled. The man named Writer was already furious. This man came to the headquarters to have a good fight with the old rivals in the past, but whether it was Garp or Sengoku and him again when fighting, he was half-hearted and didn't take him to heart at all. Boom! The pitch-black fist slammed heavily on Sengoku's back, and the terrifying power even made the surrounding air ripple like the sea. PFF'd. Sengoku spat out a mouthful of blood, even mixed with pieces of internal organs, and was traumatized again. Writer. Sengoku turned back suddenly, the huge body with strong centrifugal force, the golden fist wrapped hockey and slammed into Writer. Whoosh! Writer was blasted out directly. Ha ha ha, that's it, Sengoku pounced on him again. Quote. Although the seastone handcuffs on his hands have been removed, the feeling of powerlessness has disappeared, but the straw hat still sits on the ground in a daze, unable to stand up. His eyes are wide open, and tears gradually gather in his eyes. No way. Fire Fist Ace also had the same reaction as the straw hat. His mouth opened wide and his pupils shrank suddenly, as if he was greatly frightened. At the same time, tears began to converge in his eyes. No way. What's wrong? The person who came stood up, looked down at the two guys who were slumped on the ground, and said with a smile, I haven't seen you for so long that you can't recognize me. He took off his top hat, revealing blonde hair. It's me. Ace, Luffy, it's me. Sabo. The straw hat jumped up and tightly guarded the man in front of him. Tears and snot on his face were mixed up. The man suddenly burst into tears. Sabo. You're not dead. You're not dead. Really, really, really good. The straw hat howled. Sabo, you bastard. Fire Fist also stood up, although the reaction was not as violent as the straw hat, but in the same way, tears could not stop pouring out of his eyes. You guy, you're still alive, it's good, really. Ah, I'm still alive and well. Sabo had a bright smile on his face. I am so sorry, I couldn't contact you because of some things before. To be able to come here, I would also like to thank a certain gentleman for his help. Straw Hat shook his head. As long as you're alive, Sabo, that's enough. Don't hesitate. Don't let Straw Hat and Fire Fist Ace run away. Kill them. Marine soldiers around will not watch the felon escape, whistling, and the surrounding Marine soldiers have already surrounded them. Hey, Luffy, stop crying. Sabo looked a little helpless, and this younger brother is still like this after so long. Hey, let him cry for a while. Ace twisted his neck. This kid is still the same. As for these guys. Fire Fist. The flame splashed on Ace's hand, and with a strong fist, the arm instantly swelled, turning into a huge flame fist and roaring out, instantly swept the surrounding Marine soldiers in, screaming one after another, just in the blink of an eye, starting from Fire Fist Ace. The Marine soldiers in the front are all emptied, and the power is really terrifying. Hey, just give it to me first. Ace laughed. Sorry, I don't want to die now. Damn, this guy is Logia's fruit burning ability. Back off, back off. The guy who won't hockey back off. In the Marine queue, such a roar continued to sound. Okay. Sabo patted the straw hat on the back and laughed. Don't cry, Luffy. Now is not the time to cry, Ace has already started fighting. We can't be idle, right? Yeah. The straw hat raised his head, bit his lower lip and nodded. Ha ha ha, then, it's been a long time. Fire Fist laughed and twisted his body, sending several Marines away with a single blow. ASLS. Sabo also smiled. The steel pipe in his hand easily parried a group of Marines' long knives, and blasted all the enemies out with a little force. Three brothers. The straw hat laughed and jumped into the air, his legs and fists fell from the sky like rain, and the nearby Marines collapsed in such a torrential rain. He. The straw hat fell to the ground with a smile, with a big smile on his face. Not bad, Luffy. The three brothers stood side by side. Sabo chuckled lightly. I finally have the appearance of a qualified pirate. Of course. Straw Hat laughed. I'm going to be the man of One Piece, king of pirates. That can't be considered not heard. Luffy. Ace replied, it's Whitebeard who is going to be the One Piece, king of pirates. Are these three actually brothers? Marines around were terrified. What the hell is going on here? That man is the high-ranking Revolutionary Army who has been very active recently. That's Sabo. Hey, recognized. Sabo laughed, but I didn't expect Luffy to be Mr. Long's son. Huh, does Sabo know my dad? Luffy was a little surprised. Stop joking, sinners. Shadow jumped out from one side. Do you still want to escape from this fortress of justice? Chapter 529 Final battle begins. Whoosh. The powerful fist had already slammed towards Fire Fist's face, and Ace's pupils shrank sharply. This speed was too fast for him to reflect. Hey, Haki. In an instant, there was only time to cover his head with both hands, and the huge and hard fist had already slammed into Ace's body. Ah! With a scream, a powerful force surged. Ace only felt that his arm seemed to have been broken, and his body was naturally blasted out. At the same time, before the other two brothers could react, the visitor stomped on the ground with his right foot, and the dense cracks spread, the waist violently exerted force, the body twisted, and the huge mechanical arm tore the air. A powerful force attached to it, and it has already blasted towards the other two guys. What? Sabo is a high-level revolutionary army. He has been trained in the hands of Dragon, Shemale King, Shangyi and other high-level revolutionary army leaders all the year round. Whether it is strength or fighting consciousness, he is very top-notch. Covered and blocked in front of the robotic arm. But useless. There was almost no resistance. Sabo and the Straw Hats standing with him were under a majestic force without any resistance. They were directly bombarded by the incoming person and flew in again following the footsteps of Fire Fist Ace. Into the crowd. Hey! Fire Fist let out a pained cry and slid a long distance on the ground, with a very uncomfortable expression on his face. This guy. He rolled on the ground for a while, but the Straw Hat was not injured. He has a rubber body. Without Haki attached, it is difficult for pure blows to work on him. Even the mechanical arm composed of sea stone is the same. It landed heavily on the ground, and Dang Dang stepped back 2 steps, with cold sweat on Sabo's face. Here comes an amazing guy. Call. Slowly heaving a sigh of relief, the man named Zephyr whispered, justice must never be trampled on. Yes, it's Mr. Blackarm. Lord Zephyr. It's all right now, if it's Mr. Blackarm. Anyone from the Revolutionary Army. Zephyr looked at the only guy standing among the 3 brothers. Haki is not bad. Sure enough, that boy is not willing to give up his son. Boy, how many of you are there? Hey, it's not our Revolutionary Army's style to abolish public affairs for personal reasons. Sabo chuckled lightly. I'm the only one who came here. No matter what you think about saving your brother, it's a private matter, right? That's it. Zephyr stomped heavily. No matter how many come, just stay. Whoosh. Blackarm Zephyr vs Ace, Sabo, Luffy, ASL 3 brothers, the battle broke out. The other side. See you la 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 la. Nice job, that kid. Whitebeard laughed loudly. The naginata in his hand was wrapped in a powerful vibration force, and he swung it out heavily. The violent wind emanated from his knife, and the surrounding marine soldiers were blown away without any resistance. However, his opponents were not just ordinary marine soldiers. Boom! The huge magma fist slammed heavily on Whitebeard's broadsword, and the strong shock force instantly made the magma shoot everywhere, but the same force as the volcanic eruption also prevented Whitebeard's attack. Damn! Akainu's face was a little distorted, which was left by Vlad's previous blow. This was the first time that this man was injured by high temperature. The skin on his face was dark, and there was a faint smell of meat, and he looked extremely ferocious. Kala la la la, Don't even think about going there. Magma kid. Whitebeard laughed and slammed it out. Damn. Akainu also punched the top, and the violent power spread everywhere. Call. Akainu took 2 steps back with a displeased expression on his face. He wanted to go over and kill the Straw Hat and Fire Fist, but Whitebeard stood in front of him. Looks like you don't want to give way. Then, I have to kill you first. Quote. If you can do it. Whitebeard laughed, just give it a try. Kid. Ah. Akainu let out a low growl, Marine soldier. Stand back. The next battle is not for you to participate in. Boom. Blink of an eye, with Akainu as the center, the surrounding terrain has undergone earth-shaking changes. The ground cracked violently, magma began to spew out of the cracks, and the cracks began to rise. Soon, one by one, small volcanoes had appeared. On the ground nearby. Awakened. The smile on Whitebeard's face faded. Trouble. Akainu whispered, although it can't be fully expanded in the headquarters, it can only be done like this. But it's almost there. After all, Whitebeard was severely injured by Sengoku when he was seriously ill. Kula la la la. How dare you say it? Little devil, you are not the only one who will wake up. Whitebeard vs Akainu, the final battle to the death has finally begun. Hey. A certain nameless guy fell down while clutching his chest, with a wound running through his chest. Damn, Shiryu, you bastard, what are you doing? A prisoner exclaimed. Scoff. What responded to him was a dazzling knife light, and there was an instant wound on his chest from top to bottom, and blood spurted out. Tisk, this guy. The man with a cigar in his mouth and a scar on his face said dismissively, but it was never on our side. What should we do? Him. Several guys from the former Baroque Works room gathered. The man codenamed R. said solemnly. What to do? Crocodile chuckled. Watch honestly, and then prepare to retreat. The situation is beyond our control. Oh. Crocodile's pupils shrank, and a black shadow flashed in front of him instantly. Shigen Finger Pistol, who was tearing the air, had already pierced his chest. Silly, did you really betray us? Hum hum hum. Standing in the middle of a group of ordinary-looking pirates, Shilu of Rain laughed. Don't get me wrong, I have never been your ally, I am a loyal subordinate of the government. This guy, with 2 long horns on his head, the king of evil, murmured like this. Right, guys? Shiryu asked the people beside him. Of course. The plain-looking marine next to him chuckled lightly. Mr. Shiryu is already our new member. Damn. The Bluefish man frowned. P0. Of course, if you don't want to fight with us, it's okay. The agent of P0 smiled, with a strong temptation in his smile. Isn't cooperation and win-win a better way? Chapter 530. The battle is in turmoil. Boom. The steel-like fist covered with hockey slammed into the seastone mechanical arm, which was harder than real steel, and the terrifying air wave dissipated. Wow ah ah ah. The voice of the Straw Hat was a little panic, and the strong storm was blowing, and this man seemed very powerless in the battle of this level. Amazing. Sabo. Straw Hat stood up with an excited smile on his face. It has become so strong. And Ace is also super strong. There. A huge pillar of fire rose into the sky, turned into a huge fire wave and bombarded the enemy. The surrounding air was burned hot, the amazing hot wind spread, and the fiery radiance filled the air. Everything around seemed to be melted, extremely terrible heat. The 2 guys are outstanding and strong. At their age, there is no stronger guy in the ocean than them. Each of them, as long as they continue to grow, will definitely be the top strong in the ocean. However, they are strong, and their enemies are stronger. Although they suffer from severe asthma, although they are old, and although their right arm has been cut off and replaced with a robotic arm, the man named Zephyr is still well deserved. Powerful. He is also one of the most powerful men in the sea. Zephyr let out a low roar and exerted his strength again, and the huge mechanical arm instantly knocked Sabo away. At the same time, the fire wave blasted by Ace was close at hand. Logia, kid. The corner of Zephyr's mouth spilled a disdainful smile. Hey. Zephyr's body was suddenly wrapped in a layer of haki, and then, one of the Rokushiki's shaving instantly made a shave. Mixed with moonstep, this man had already soared into the sky, and rushed towards Fire Fist like a phantom. What? Ace only felt a flower in front of his eyes, and a huge black shadow had appeared in front of him. Ace's health was not good. After a long time in prison, the damage to his body was not light, and weakness was inevitable. So, of course, when Zephyr's huge fist hit his head, the man turned into a fiery red meteor and was slammed into the ground, causing a huge explosion. The flames shot up into the sky, and the distance of volcanic eruption created by a kainu here is quite similar. Damn. Shift 3 inches. Gun of the Giants. Zephyr had just shot down the Fire Fist, the Straw Hat's attack had already arrived, and the huge fist and the whistling air had already blasted towards the veteran. Straw Hat. Garp. Zephyr's face was calm, but since it's a pirate. Boom. The open robotic arm directly pressed against Luffy's fist, and the astonishing strong wind spread. A panicked look flashed on the Straw Hat's face. His body suddenly lost strength, his arms began to shrink, and a huge amount of air spewed out of his mouth. Is that arm sea stone? The Straw Hat screamed. Come here. Zephyr shouted lowly, and the mechanical arm that grabbed the Straw Hat's fist threw it back, and the Straw Hat was pulled directly by him. Wow. The Straw Hat screamed, and Zephyr grabbed her petite body directly. Sentence. Zephyr said coldly, it's not too late. Raised high over haki, and the next moment it will hit the Straw Hat's head. It's my turn to let Luffy go. A vigorous figure rose to the sky, and the man named Sabo had an angry expression on his face, and the steel rod in his hand slammed directly at Zephyr's head. Tisk. Zephyr pouted, and with a wave, the Straw Hat flew towards Sabo. Call. Sabo breathed a sigh of relief, and hurriedly caught the Straw Hat, but at the same time, a dark shadow had enveloped him. Damn. Sabo scolded secretly, and the huge mechanical arm had already smashed towards him. Sabo twisted hard, took the petite Straw Hat in his arms, and faced Zephyr's attack with his back, the mighty armament haki covering his back. Boom. Like a meteor falling, Sabo and the Straw Hat have been blasted into the ground by Zephyr. Da. Zephyr landed gently, and in the blink of an eye, there were 2 huge potholes on the ground, and the 3 ASL brothers had been blasted into the ground. Call. Slowly heaving a sigh of relief, Zephyr frowned and pressed on his chest, then stepped forward. Well. Zephyr looked up suddenly, and above the sky, something came over. Me. Pothole. Sabo was lying on the ground with Luffy in his arms, his eyes looking at the sky, and a happy smile suddenly appeared on his face. Boom. The 2 translucent ones looked like spheres, and there were a few small balls in front of them falling from the sky, and the surrounding marine soldiers were blasted away, forming a small bear paw print on the ground. Hip hop. Dragon's son, let me protect it. The man with the huge purple afro laughed loudly. It looks just right. It's very strange, the man who was divided into 2 colors from the middle whispered. Scoff. Silently, another tall figure had appeared in the field, and suddenly, 3 more people had been added to the battlefield. When the 2 swords slammed heavily, and the 2 men holding the swords sank suddenly. The solid ice surface could not support the strength of the 2 at all. The surrounding ice surface was like someone was holding a huge sword and slashing on it. Become haphazard. Hey, Mihawk, can't you just get out of the way? The redhead stepped back slightly, turned his body, and the famous sword Griffin in his hand brought amazing power and slashed towards the man opposite. Get out of the way. Isn't it right now? His opponent, the eagle-eyed Mihawk with a smile on his face, raised the black knife in his hand high, and slashed down heavily. It's when you want to pass, you will do your best. If you want me out of the way, Just let me have fun. Boom. The shock wave swept across the world. Hey, that's amazing. On the other side, the man with a very wretched expression smiled. Hey, Gion-chan, don't fight them just because you're a swordsman, you're a little short. Just take care of yourself. Momoshiki has never had a good tone for this man. With a heavy swing of the long knife in his hand, he directly knocked a fat guy into the air. However, in the blink of an eye, another man with a long gun in his hand shot a bullet at her. Cut. Momoshiki pouted. What trouble? Whoosh. Named Tokikake turned his head lightly, dodging the attack from the opponent at will. Fuck. Before he could turn his head back, the opponent's attack came again, entwined with the powerful armament hockey, as the butt of the gun had been drawn towards his head. Yeah, tilde. Chaton Tokikake stood still, as if he was frightened. Crack. The man's head exploded directly and turned into crumbs. Cut. His opponent, a man named Beckman, gritted his teeth, cold sweat on his forehead. It's tough enough. Hey, so scary. The clay-like substance reassembled, and Chaton Tokikake appeared on the battlefield again. With a wave of his hand, the huge khaki wild boar head flew out of his hand. Pig 2. The red-haired pirates were originally blocked on the ice field, and the powerful combat power of the opponent prevented them from rushing into the square. Needless to say about Hawkeye's strength, although Chaton Tokikake is Vice Admiral, in fact, this man already has the combat power that can be called Admiral. It is definitely not weak, plus a group of Marine Vice Admiral, the backbone of P0, plus the P-Robot. Even the red-haired pirates have to admit that the opponent Marine prepared for them is really strong. Chapter 531 Hit hard. Come on. Kill them. Don't step back, soldier. Boom. Ah. Go to hell. The sound of explosions, roars, swords clashing, muskets firing, volcanic eruptions, atmospheric vibrations, human bodies smashing the ground, all the sounds from this chaotic battlefield, all the voices together constitute this battlefield of blood and fire. All the voices entered the ears of the old man lying on the battlefield. The old man was lying on the ground as if it had nothing to do with him. He was motionless, and no one paid any attention to him, so let the old man be there. Lying on the ground. Da. 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 Light footsteps came from one side, and then stopped in front of the old man. Crack. She looked very old, but the spirited old woman put her arms around her chest and gently kicked the old man with her feet. Get up, old bastard. Huh. As if suddenly awakened, Marine's hero, Garp opened his eyes suddenly, then sat up, as if he had just woken up. Ah, it's Suru. Good morning. Don't be silly, Garp. Suru Vice Admiral whispered, now Marine needs your power. But, Suru. Garp withdrew the smile on his face and bowed his head, which was always upright. Go and deal with Ryder. Suru Vice Admiral said, this time, even your Marine hero title can't keep you, and if you don't do something, the government won't let it go. Quote. Garp didn't speak. Zephyr's health is not good, the bear guy looks betrayed now, plus a she-male king, he is struggling to deal with it alone, let Sengoku help him, Garp. Suru Vice Admiral said, go and deal with Ryder. That's all you can do. The rest, whether they survive or not, leave it to fate. Ha 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 ha. Marine's hero stood up. Ryder. Garp took a step forward with a big smile on his face. Sorry, Ace, Luffy, and Sabo, now I'm just a Marine. Leave it to me. Hey. The strong wind hit, and the majestic figure of the old man disappeared without a trace. Huh, it's really hard for you. Suru Vice Admiral let out a slow sigh of relief. What an overwhelming life. The vigorous old man fell into the distance. Ryder. The second round has begun. Quote. The she-male king, and Lightning, who is also a cadre of the Revolutionary Army. Zephyr frowned and looked at the guy with the big face. Didn't you say you've disappeared in the big prison? Tisk, what a bunch of trash, isn't this still alive and well? Hip-hop, Black-Arm Zephyr. A man with a big face, a major cadre of the Revolutionary Army, and the Shemale King Ivankov had a joking expression, but his eyes were very solemn. What a great opponent. Also, Bartholomew Bear. Zephyr's eyes moved to the other guy. You guy, have you betrayed too? Betrayal. Non-existent, Mr. Zephyr. Shang has no worries in his heart, and now he has the courage to express his attitude bluntly. I originally pursued freedom, questioned the world, and brought revolution to this sea. Damn, I knew it. Zephyr's face was gloomy. Shichibukai or something, can't be trusted at all. In just a few dozen minutes, there were already 2 Shichibukai rebels. Are such guys really trustworthy? Ha ha ha, saved, Ivan, Mr. Bear, Mr. Lightning. Sabo wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and climbed up from the pit. I thought it was dead. Do you know Sabo? Ace, who got up from the hole on the other side, looked surprised. Well, it's quite a reliable companion. Sabo nodded. Really? Straw Hat looked very happy. He. Sabo has his own partner too. Boom. Heavy footsteps descended from the sky, a huge golden Buddha fell behind Zephyr, and blood flowed from the corner of Sengoku's mouth. Come on. Old man, the execution must not fail. Ah. The Zephyr robotic arm lifted slightly. Che, is there another Marine Marshal? The Shemale King's face changed slightly. He, we also have reinforcements here. A huge blue bird fell from the sky. Marco. Ace was overjoyed. Boom. Without any extra words, Sengoku raised his hand with a powerful shock wave, and the prelude to the battle abruptly kicked off. On the other side, the most intense place on the battlefield between Whitebeard and Akainu, the fight between the 2 monsters is still going on. No one can get close to the place where they are fighting. The lava is filled, the volcano erupts, the terrifying temperature is accompanied by the smell of sulfur, and the turbulent vibrations came one after another, and the atmosphere was constantly shattered, as if the whole world was shaking together. Akainu opened his mouth, and a fiery breath with the smell of sulfur came out of his mouth. He clenched his right fist and slammed it out. Heaven and earth were relaying, and the awakening gave him terrifying power. The surrounding small volcanoes together the eruption, very strangely erupted towards the same place. The whistling volcanic ash mixed with the turbulent magma flow, and gathered on Akainu's arm at the same time. The terrifying magma fist has condensed. Bombed directly at his enemy. Little devil. Whitebeard's eyes widened, his right fist clenched tightly, and the terrifying concussion force gathered in his hand, and a heavy punch slammed it out. It was a very amazing scene, although no one could see it, the shock wave that Whitebeard punched out. It is constantly getting stronger and spreading, as if this world is shaking together. Boom. A huge explosion resounded through the sky. Hoo-hoo. Whitebeard licked his lips, breathing suddenly a little short. This kid. Does Sengoku still have Zephyr? Damn, is Crane too? I don't have time to look around for you. Akainu's voice sounded from in front of Whitebeard. His lower body was connected to the magma on the ground. He was this volcanic land. Whitebeard. Quote. Boom. Almost at the same time, a loud noise sounded, and all the volcanoes erupted at the same time, but the strange thing was that there was no volcanic ash and magma flowing out. Then, Akainu's body swelled violently, but in the next instant, it shrank suddenly, and the right fist was already slammed. Come out. Little devil. Whitebeard roared, the upper meridian of his right fist opened, and he punched out with all his strength. Everything around him began to vibrate. The Marineford even began to shake violently. Further away, the sea began to be choppy, and all the everything started to vibrate, even as far away as the Sabayati archipelago. Boom. Everyone around them was blown away, whether it was marine or pirates, and the surrounding wall behind them that was wrapped in ice was directly shattered. Giaaaaaaaa. A fist wrapped in a transparent shock wave and a magma fist wrestled in the air, and the punch from Akainu gathered the power of dozens of small volcanic eruptions and Whitebeard's all-out punch collided. Ah! Akainu roared, almost roaring. His body could barely maintain his human shape and almost turned into lava. Every corner of his body was shaking, and a big mouthful of blood flowed out of his mouth, but he did not step back, he took a step. No, even if his body seems to be shattered, this man will never back down. His name is Akainu, code name Akainu, a man who upholds complete justice. Ah! The muscles of Whitebeard's whole body have been tensed, and every ounce of strength has erupted. The power of the vibration is getting stronger and stronger. It is not only the air that is vibrating, but even his own body is also vibrating. The skin of his upper body has been splashed. The magma burned his skin-torn flesh, blood splashed from the place where Kizaru had previously shot, and the muscles on his arms seemed to be torn apart. After all, he was 72 years old. Ah! Whitebeard's eyes suddenly widened. He was hit hard by Sengoku before, and his internal organs were severely damaged. Now, after fighting Akainu with all his strength for so long, the disease that was about to start finally broke out. Hey! A big mouthful of blood spurted out of Whitebeard's mouth, and the strength on his arms suddenly loosened. It's now. Just this loose, Akainu suddenly rushed in. His left hand had turned into lava. Don't blame me for being mean. Whitebeard. Dark Hound. Quote. The magma fist had slammed into Whitebeard's chest heavily, and the extremely high-temperature magma raged in Whitebeard's body recklessly. Wow! Whitebeard's pillar-like body suddenly loosened, and he was about to fall to the ground. You are indeed the strongest. But pirates are evil. This is war. Whitebeard. Akainu roared, and his right fist was ready to be fired again. Your era. It's over. Daddy. A huge black diamond man fell from behind Akainu and pressed directly on Akainu's body. Diamond Jozu, who had been blown away by Akainu before, finally got rid of the pursuit of the vice admirals behind and rushed over. Hey! Originally, his hands were not shallow, but when he suddenly suffered such a heavy blow, Akainu couldn't stand it anymore, and was directly crushed to the ground, screaming in agony, and blood gushing out of his mouth. Daddy! Jozu growled loudly. Jozu! The big hand that had been loosened once again clenched the naginata in his hand, and the body that was about to fall stood up again. Whitebeard yelled, "Get out of the way!" Oh! Jozu rolled to the side, and the armament on his body didn't stop. In such a magma place, a mortal body couldn't stand it. Oh! Whitebeard roared, and the white halo on his bloody right fist shattered the surrounding space instantly before he even punched, spreading continuously into the distance. Then, no hesitation, no water, just a punch. Just punching is enough. Ah! A heavy fist slammed into Akainu's head. The man's body was constantly deformed, and the surrounding ground suddenly began to crumble, and everything was shattered under such power. Akainu cried out in agony, and then PFF'd. With a soft sound, the man turned into a piece of lava. Boom! Ground sank sharply, and with Whitebeard's front as the dividing line, a bottomless gulf had spread across Marineford, directly dividing the island into two halves, and Akainu had disappeared. Yeah. He could withdraw his fist. Whitebeard spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body shook, as if he would fall over at any time. Daddy! Diamond Jozu's eyes. As a son, seeing his father hurt to such a degree is really a dereliction of duty. Don't stand still, Jozu. Whitebeard didn't fall down. He stepped forward with his right foot, and suddenly stabilized his body. He turned his head, and on that side, the three Owl brothers and the two cadres of the Revolutionary Army faced Marshal Marine and the former admiral. Let's go. Go and bring Ace, our family, back. The man turned around and strode forward. Oh. Just like all the times in the past, Jozu responded with a high voice, following behind the father. The only difference was the tears in his eyes. Today is another 4D update. I think I should get some rewards. Crazy Express. Chapter 533 Dead War. Whitebeard and Sengoku. Oh. The huge golden Buddha roared, and a strong shock wave roared out from his palm, and the surrounding ground began to shatter layer by layer, and began to transform to the level of dust. Ah! A man with a big face hiding behind a huge blue flamingo poked his head out. What a terrifying ability. Is this martial marine? As expected of a sea hero who quakes the sea. Hey, bear, can't you just bounce us all off? The she-male king said loudly. I really want to. The huge bear opened his mouth, and a laser beam was fired directly from the mouth, but it was of no use to his opponent. Smashing, then kicking his hand has turned into a lightning bolt of scissors, and Zephyr's attack is completely unstoppable. But the enemy is really strong. Boy, do you still have time to look around when you play against me? Named Zephyr jumped, and the robotic arm in his hand smashed directly at the bear's body. Hey! The bear raised his hands calmly, hockey was useless, and opened his palms directly to block Zephyr's mechanical arms. It was a very surprising scene. Zephyr's attack seemed to have no power at all. It slammed heavily on the palm of the bear, but it had no effect at all, as if it was just lightly placed on the hand. Oh, what a terrifying power, can't you bounce it off? Of course, the meatball fruit that can bounce everything has its upper limit. Boom! Zephyr's attack didn't end, smash bunt. The explosives buried on the robotic arm exploded instantly, and a dazzling light flickered in the bear's eyes. What? The strong impact caused the bear to take 2 steps back, and then, in the smoke, Zephyr had already rushed out, and kicked the bear directly on the stomach. Hey! Zephyr can use the fighting technique to achieve Admiral's position. It is conceivable how strong his strength is. The bear was directly blasted away heavily and fell towards the distance. Bear! The she-male king looked unbelievable. What are you doing? Ivankov couldn't imagine that the bear guy could be repulsed so easily. Of course, he didn't know that the current bear was completely different from the bear he knew before. Most of his body had been transformed into machinery, strength, and reaction. Agility has been greatly weakened compared to the past. Dare to look around. The huge golden fist slammed heavily on the ground, and the terrifying impact instantly blew everyone around. Damn! Fire Fist's face is not good looking. Such an enemy is still a little too early for him now. Don't be stunned, pirates. Silently, a hand was already on his back. What? Ace's eyes widened to the limit. Stay away from Ace. The rubber fist that stretched to the limit had no intention of respecting the old and caring for the young, and slammed it towards the old woman vice admiral. Really, it's exactly the same as that guy Garp. Granny Crane easily dodged the Straw Hat's attack with a slight tilt of her head. Her hand was already holding the Straw Hat's arm. It's not good for young people to be too angry, or, let's be a little quieter. An invisible force was activated from Suru Vice Admiral's hand, and when her hand touched the Fire Fist and the Straw Hat, it was like being rolled into a washing machine, and the body began to spin wildly, and then, in the blink of an eye, the two men seemed to become a producer-like existence, become flat, fluttering in the wind, gently falling to the ground, like washed clothes. However, the two of them still had smiles of enjoyment on their faces. Ah, so refreshing. The two men lay leisurely on the ground. A little quieter. Suru Vice Admiral said casually. Luffy. Then, a scream came from the side. Well. Suru Vice Admiral watched as a group of guys who suddenly rushed over picked up Fire Fist and Straw Hats from the ground. And, Mr. Ace, what's the matter? Oh, everyone, hee, so refreshing. The Straw Hat greeted slowly, and laughed. Luffy's partner, oh haha, let's cool down together. A friend of the Straw Hat. How dare you come here even if you are so weak? Suru Vice Admiral stepped forward. It's really hard to articulate the friendship between people, but the enemy is the enemy. Don't even think about going there. A black shadow fell from the sky, and a man with a steel rod in his hand fell from the sky with a serious expression on his face. In just an instant, his brother had already been hit hard. Of course, he could not allow the other party to continue to attack. The Revolutionary Army, Sabo, E.H. Suru Vice Admiral sighed slightly. It's the grandson of that guy from Garp, right? Seriously, what's going on with the three of you brothers? Hey, you guys, are you Luffy's buddies? Without looking back, Sabo said, take Luffy and Ace away. I'll block this place. But you are. It didn't look a little dumbfounded. I am their brother. Sabo chuckled lightly, his feet slammed hard, and he lunged towards the crane. Let's go. The three swordsmen turned his head and said, since Luffy has been rescued. Let's go back. That can't be done. Suru Vice Admiral sighed, although she didn't want to see Garp sad, she was a marine. Hey. In the blink of an eye, this old woman showed a terrifying speed that didn't match her thin body at all. Marine Rokushiki's shaving was perfect when she used it, and she deftly went around to Sabo and blocked the Straw Hat gang. Hey. The Straw Hats were taken aback, this old woman. Cut. Sabo clenched his teeth. After all, he was only 20 years old, and his strength was not comparable to that of 2 years later. He was still a long way from the legends on the sea. Kala la la la. It was at this time that unrestrained laughter came from the other side, and the marine soldiers in front were blown away like weeds. Ace. Marco. It's okay. The man who looks like a giant pillar has arrived on this side. The strongest man in the world, the legendary legend of the sea, Whitebeard, is here. Damn. Not far away, the annoyed look in Sengoku's eyes flickered, isn't it dead yet? Whitebeard. With a sudden force under his feet, he has no extra time to deal with the Phoenix and the Monster King. This guy Whitebeard is the biggest enemy. Boom. Sengoku's heavy body landed right in front of Whitebeard, separating Whitebeard from Vice Admiral Tsuruoka and the Straw Hats. Aren't you dead yet? Sengoku's tone was not good, Whitebeard. Sengoku. There was a smile on the corner of Whitebeard's mouth. You're not dead, how could I? The long-standing grievances will end today. Chapter 534 All get out, we are victorious. Call. Call. I almost thought I was dead. The Shemale King let out a long sigh of relief, his strength was really not enough in front of Sengoku. Hey. Next to him, Marco could no longer maintain his phoenix form, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. Hello, Marco baby, can't even reply. The Shemale King was surprised and said, as a well-known figure in the world, Marco's ability is still clear to him. It can be called an undead terrifying ability, and any damage can be recovered, but now he is sitting on the ground and vomiting blood. You can imagine how many injuries he suffered. Shows how strong Sengoku's ability is for Marco's restraint. After all, Marco has no means of long-range attack, and all the means of attack are claws. Sengoku's shockwave is overwhelming, and it's really not easy for Marco to escape. Cough cough. Marco forced his body to stand up, blood spilling out of his nostrils, eyes, and corners of his mouth. Daddy. Whitebeard's current appearance caught his eye. Damn. Why did it become like this? Marco baby. Ivankov was a little worried. It's nothing, Mr. Ivan. Marco turned his head and said, don't be stunned, Dad stopped Sengoku, and now we are only one step away from victory. Let Mr. Bear flick Ace and the others away. The battle is our victory. Oh oh. Ivankov ejected, pounced directly in Zephyr's direction. Galaxy blink. On the huge face, the eyes suddenly blinked, and the invisible strong shock wave had already blasted towards Zephyr. Well. Zephyr turned his head sharply, but it was too late. The speed was really fast, and the invisible impact had already hit him. A terrifying explosion occurred in an instant, and Zephyr was directly blasted out. Hip-hop. The Shemale King spun like a ballet, as if in a celebratory dance. Bear, quick, send the dragon's son and his mates out. Yeah. The bear nodded silently, patted his hand lightly on the air, and his body disappeared, but in the blink of an eye he appeared behind the Straw Hat gang. "Don't resist, I will send you off the battlefield." The bear said so. "Huh, can we finally leave this place?" Long-nosed man, treasure navigator, reindeer in tears. "Don't think about it." Suru Vice Admiral shouted lowly, slipped his feet, and rushed towards the Straw Hats. "Don't think about it." Sabo roared, falling from the sky, dragon claw fist, dragon breath. "Ah!" The astonishment flashed on the crane's face, and he jumped up. The ground was directly shattered, and a huge pothole appeared. Then, "Old lady, don't get in the way, oh." The man who suddenly appeared in front of her slapped her directly, and Granny he raised her arm to block the blow, but the powerful force still knocked her into the air. "Then this is the first." The bear raised his arm, aiming at the curly-browed cook holding the clothes-like straw hat. "Hey, let Miss Nami go first," the curly-browed chef yelled. The bear completely ignored this guy, and his palm was about to take a picture. "Don't think about it." Zephyr, who was blasted by the She-Male King, rushed over directly. "Don't even think about going there," the She-Male King roared. New She-Male Boxing Technique 44 Beauty Esoteric Dream Strikes Chuli Boxing. Like a storm, the She-Male King's sharp nails instantly turned into countless daggers, covering the sky and piercing the sun directly at Zephyr. "Get out of the way!" Zephyr shouted angrily, his body spun abruptly, and the huge mechanical arm spun towards the She-Male King. Wow! Lost its strength the moment it touched Zephyr's mechanical arm, and was directly hit by Zephyr and flew into the distance. "Ivan!" The remaining guy, lightning gritted his teeth, pushed it straight up, attached a layer of hockey to the scissors in his hand, and cut it directly towards Zephyr. Lightning has a very powerful force, and can easily tear everything apart. "Cut!" Zephyr roared in disgust, and the huge robotic arm in his hand slammed into Lightning's scissors again. Bo tilde. At this time, the bear waved his palm, and the chef holding the straw hat disappeared. Then, he turned his attention to the second person, the skull holding the fireball. "I'll send you to the Sabayati archipelago, and the rendezvous is up to you." Bear raised his right hand a second time. "Wait, Dark Hound." An angry roar came from behind the bear, the ground melted violently, and the man whose body was completely covered in magma emerged from the ground like a volcanic eruption. On the back. The terrifying attack directly penetrated the bear's back and slammed into his body, and then, boom! The volcano erupted, a powerful impact erupted from Akainu's hand, and the bear was blown away directly. "Akainu, how come?" Marco, who was confronting Suru Vice Admiral, turned his head sharply, "Is this guy still alive?" Blood flowed out of his mouth as if he didn't want money. The man named Akainu had an amazing vitality, but the aftermath shattered Marineford's attack and fell on him, and it could only hit him hard. Just in time, Akainu. Behind him, Zephyr rejoiced, punching Lightning in the face with a heavy punch, and the man was blown away. "The straw hat is gone, don't let Fire Fist run away too." "Ah, Teacher Zephyr," Akainu said coldly, "Sin, I will punish you." "Damn, it's over now." The face of the She-Male King who suddenly got up was full of anxiety. Marine Headquarters Chief Staff Officer, Suru Vice Admiral, Marine Headquarters Former Admiral, Black Arm Zephyr, and the world government's highest combat power, Marine Headquarters Admiral, Akainu seems to be really dead right now. Marine Admiral. The three swordsmen stepped forward and directly blocked in front of his friends. "Damn. Hoo-hoo." Akainu gasped heavily and raised his right fist. "Now, let me come." "Get away from me." The man's loud shout, flashes of flashes, the man made of diamonds has already whizzed like a locomotive. "What?" Akainu turned his head sharply, but it was too late, the diamond Jozu was close at hand. Dog-biting Crimson Lotus. As Marine Admiral, Akainu's fighting experience is not bad. His right arm instantly turned into a huge fist and slammed towards Jozu. "Ah!" The strong impact and the scorching high temperature are really unbearable. Jozu can turn into diamonds, but not all of his body will turn into diamonds, otherwise he can't even move, and the parts that don't turn into diamonds are still wrapped in hockey. Burning sizzle. However, the pain didn't stop Jozu's charge. Boom. The huge diamond man disappeared in a flash, directly knocking Akainu into the air, and fell heavily into the distance. Yuck tilde. Akainu, who was already seriously injured, suffered from this blow, and his body was even more uncomfortable, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Damn it. Akainu raised his head and looked at the man standing in front of him. Don't even think about going there. The man who was flushed red and exuded heat shouted like this. Damn, Akainu. Zephyr yelled, trying to charge at the Straw Hats again. Don't even think about going there. Galaxy blink. An invisible shock wave came suddenly, and Zephyr's body was blown away again. There. Shemale King yelled, move me. Oh. A low, silent, tall figure appeared in front of the Straw Hats again, with a wry smile on the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect a mechanical body to save my life. Goodbye, Straw Hats. Shang whispered and waved his hands at the same time. Wave. Wave. Brooke, who was holding Ace, and Nami, who was shivering, disappeared at the same time. Damn it. Akainu roared, and the huge fist slammed heavily on Jozu's body. The hardness of the diamond was amazing, even with Akainu's iron fist, it was difficult to shake, but the impact was enough to blow Jozu away. Hey! The huge body was weakly knocked into the air and rolled on the ground. Go away! Zephyr shouted loudly, the robotic arm in his hand slammed directly on Lightning's body, the man spurted out a mouthful of blood, and the clear sound of bone cracks spread, and the man was blown away like a rag doll. Then don't die. The bear smiled and waved both hands out again. With two soft clicks, the smaller reindeer and Mr. Long Nose disappeared again. What a hassle. Suru Vice Admiral frowned and whispered, is the execution a complete failure? Damn it. The Fire Fist and the Straw Hat have already left. Akainu has no intention of rushing past. The anger in his heart has gathered to an astonishing level. In the blink of an eye, with him as the center, the surrounding area has all turned into lava, and the volcano has begun to rise. Out, Akainu's body has been connected to the magma field below. Boom. The volcano erupted suddenly, just like a repeat of the previous battle with Whitebeard, only sound, no gunpowder. All the power was concentrated in this punch from Akainu. Ah! Heavy fists slammed into Jozu's body, and a clear cracking sound sounded. Akainu's fists were embedded in Jozu's body. Asshole! Zephyr's mechanical arm is carrying the Shemale King, and under the action of Seastone, this man has completely lost his ability to fight. Smash bunt. The huge explosion at zero distance hit the Shemale King directly. Hey! The Shemale King let out a scream. Then, the bear finally made his final attack, and behind him, the man who had turned into magma was already roaring towards him. Goodbye. Huge palms fell from the sky. Named Roranoa Zoro-sa was the giant magma hand that penetrated the stomach of the tall man in front of him, and then his sight disappeared instantly. So far, Fire Fist Ace, Straw Hat Luffy, and the two publicly executed criminals have completely escaped, and the government's execution plan has failed completely. Daddy. With a smile on Marco's face, we won. Dad. The happy smile stopped abruptly, and the dull expression hung on his cheek. Sengoku. It wasn't just Marco who was astonished, as was Suru Vice Admiral, his opponent. Chapter 535 The End of the Legend. Above the sky, a fierce battle is going on, the dazzling beams are constantly flickering, like a machine gun, and the countless beams are like rain. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Cut. Golden Lion's eyes are not good looking, the opponent is really difficult to deal with, not in terms of absolute strength, but in terms of fighting style. The two famous swords in his hand, Sakuragi and Kushi swung at the same time, and the earth-shattering chopper roared out, and the beams that were swarming towards him were scattered between the fingers. Oh oh oh, it's scary. The man with glasses turned into a beam of light, flashed into the distance, and in the blink of an eye, he was already far away from the golden lion. Still keeping a little distance makes me feel safe. Kizaru giggled and laughed. Tisk, that's really tough. Kizaru Admiral. Golden Lion frowned, and the corner of his mouth biting the cigar drew a very annoying arc. No way. Kizaru chuckled, because Shiki-san, you are a legendary pirate. You are super strong. Amount. Golden Lion's expression was very unhappy, and then, suddenly startled, he suddenly turned his head, and his right hand was already swinging the sword. Scoff. The majestic sword pressure whistled and slashed straight down. In that direction, the ice spear formed by dozens of solid ice shattered directly, unable to get close to Golden Lion at all. Oh Kuzan. Kizaru looked a little surprised at the man who stepped on the air and rushed over quickly. There is no more time for you to play, Borsellino. Kuzan arrived in the blink of an eye, and in a few moments he reached the same height as Kizaru Golden Lion. Time waits for no one, the red hair pirates are still outside, let's join forces. Defeat the Golden Lion. Kizaru was a little surprised. Kuzan, you still ask me to join forces. The same three Admiral, in fact, the relationship between Kizaru and Akainu is better. After all, the two are classmates in the same class, their age is closer, and their methods are more bloody. Kuzan's words are a little less meaningful. Well then. Kizaru chuckled, it would be much easier with Kuzan's help. Hey, really? Golden Lion put the sword on his shoulders and laughed. You, going to join forces to deal with me? Will this kind of behavior be a bit of a bully to the old man? If all the old people in this world are like this. With Kuzan's opening, the world suddenly changed. Snowflakes began to fall in the sky above, and the biting cold wind began to blow. Golden Lion's eyes widened, and his body was already covered with ice crystals. Then the world is horrible. Kuzan spoke slowly. Golden Lion sighed in surprise, and the moment he left his mouth, it condensed into small ice crystals. Are you so serious when you first came up? Kuzan. Kizaru laughed, then I can't keep it. Hey. ... Boom 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 boom. After Marineford's Square, where the building community of the Marine headquarters was supposed to be, a fierce battle was going on. The battle between the two old men was almost ruined. Everything, whether it was a stone building or a wooden house, in the battle between these two aging old men, they can only be reduced to ruins. Ha ha ha, that's it. Garp. The man named Ryder laughed, and before he finished laughing, the black fist wrapped in hockey slammed into his face, and the terrifying power even brought it up. The strong wind had already swept the surrounding ruins into the sky, manually forming a sandstorm. It was clearly visible that Ryder's head was thrown back, and a front tooth flew into the sky. Boom. But at the same time, the same hard fist also slammed into Garp's forehead, the clear sound of bone cracks spread, and the blood spread little by little. Whoosh. The two were bombarded by each other at the same time, but after just a blink of an eye, the two strong figures had already collided with each other, and there was no evasion at all. Observation hockey's cultivation level is almost the same, there is no need to avoid it, and it is obviously much simpler to compare someone's fist harder. Wow! Marine's hero screamed, and the whip leg slammed into his ribs. At least 2 ribs were broken. Fortunately, the broken ribs didn't go into the internal organs. Oh! At the same time, Garp's iron fist also slammed into Ryder's shoulder blades, and the same powerful force of course smashed the Red Earl's bones with ease. Ha ha ha, that's it. Earl Red laughed loudly, and slammed his opponent's body with each punch. Similarly, the opponent also slammed his body with punch and punch. The bones were broken one by one, and the internal organs were also severely affected. Injury, Blood continued to pour out of his mouth, and even accompanied by fragments of internal organs, not only the mouth, nostrils, eyes, ears, and even the skin with faint blood penetration. Garp. That's it. His opponent, Garp the Fist, is also uncomfortable. There are several conspicuous depressions on the chest. These are left by the fist of the Red Earl. The left arm and forearm are red and swollen, the bones have been directly broken, and the corners of his mouth are also blood. Continuously. I've been in Impel Down for more than 20 years. I've been waiting for this moment. Only when I fight with you can I remember it. Ryder laughed, all the strength of his body gathered. A heavy punch hit Garp's chin. Hero Marine's chin shattered in an instant. I remember the time when I sailed on the sea. Really, it's so beautiful. Whoosh. Garp was blasted straight away. Ha 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 ha, what a wonderful time we had. Us. The Red Earl laughed. Then, a vigorous black figure emerged from a cloud of smoke, and in the blink of an eye, it rushed in front of Ryder again, kicking directly on Ryder's chest. Poof. There is no doubt that Ryder spurted out a mouthful of blood, turned into a meteor, and crashed into the ruins behind. Hoo 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 hoo. Standing in the same place, his whole body was trembling, and his vision was blurred because of the broken jaw. Marine Hero felt excruciating pain just by moving his mouth, but the old man let out an earth-shattering roar. Don't you understand? Duh. Whether it's you, or me, or the golden lion Whitebeard. RC. It's over. Boom. The ruins burst open, and the Red Earl who staggered out had a bloody face, but the only recognizable expression was, laugh. He was laughing. Crack. The ground cracked violently, and the old man had already rushed over. Yeah, our time is over, so. At least put on the biggest curtain call performance. Garp. Ryder. Garp roared, his trembling body disappeared in place, and his huge fists were swung. Boom. Dash 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 dash. Kala la la la. Sengoku, is this not going to work? Whitebeard rushed forward, and the transparent halo above his fist filled the air, which was significantly weakened compared to the previous shock wave. Go to hell, Whitebeard. The huge golden Buddha is so roaring. Things have developed to this point. No matter whether the final execution is successful or not, Marine Headquarters, the face of the world government, has been completely lost under the onlookers of everyone in the world, and now the only way to save the way to get a little face is to execute the pirates who fell into the headquarters and prove the power of the Marine Headquarters to the world. Ohm. The shock wave, which was not so turbulent, spewed out from Sengoku's hand and hit Whitebeard directly. Whitebeard didn't fall in the slightest, and smashed his right fist heavily. The strong shock wave and the turbulent shock wave bombarded together. The terrifying power began to spread again, and the already riddled Marine Headquarters once again began to collapse, and the ground began to shatter little by little. The Marine Headquarters, which had already been fought because of the battle between Whitebeard and Akainu, had already begun to collapse. Little by little, it began to collapse. The square was directly broken into several pieces, and the bottomless cracks did not know where to extend. Hey! Blood poured out of Sengoku's mouth, and Whitebeard suffered an unusually heavy injury. This was enough to kill a normal person dozens of times, but Sengoku's injury was not light. Whitebeard's blow had already killed him. The internal organs were seriously injured, and the battle with Ryder later took a heavy blow because of distraction, and the injury was added to the injury. It is really a monster to be able to fight now. While Sengoku vomited blood, Whitebeard's condition was even worse. He vomited blood in his mouth, and the blood hole in his chest continued to ooze blood, and even pieces of cooked internal organs fell out. The two people, who were already severely injured, had fought so hard that everything had lost their meaning. Call. Almost at the same time, the two men shook their bodies at the same time. The shock wave in Whitebeard's hand disappeared, and Sengoku's body shrank sharply, returning to his usual state. Whitebeard, quote. Sengoku yelled, blood gushing out of his mouth as if he didn't want money, jumped up, jumped into the air, and punched Whitebeard directly on the head, without using hockey, just a simple fist. Wow! Whitebeard dang back 3 steps, his eyes could hardly be opened, but, almost subconsciously, the knife in his hand had been swung out, directly slashing a deep visible bone wound on Sengoku's chest, and blood spurted out. Damn! Sengoku took 2 steps back, and when he lowered his head, he could vaguely see the intestines in his stomach. Kala la la la, how's it going? Whitebeard laughed. Sengoku. Is it still unwilling to die at this point? Sengoku roared, his footsteps flimsy, but the man was still able to stride forward in front of Whitebeard and punched Whitebeard's stomach with a heavy punch. Poof! Blood spewed, entwined with entrails and blocks of lava. Boom! The condescending Whitebeard punched Sengoku's head heavily, knocking the marine marshal directly to the ground. Hoo-hoo! Sengoku fell to the ground weakly, gasping for breath. Ha ha! Whitebeard held the knife in his hand tightly, and his body stood still like an iron tower, with no tendency to fall. Whoosh Whitebeard, don't think. The brilliant golden light bloomed again, and the huge golden Buddha appeared in front of Whitebeard again. It's over. Almost at 0 distance, Sengoku's huge palm slapped on Whitebeard's body, and the shock wave spread out from the palm. Quote. Whitebeard's eyes were closed and his mouth was wide open, but there was no sound, blood seeped through his skin, and all the muscles in his body were shaking. Poof! Before Whitebeard vomited blood, Sengoku started to vomit blood first. Almost instantly, the huge golden Buddha disappeared instantly. Sengoku, who had recovered his human form, gasped heavily, his eyes were white, and he staggered forward. Ah! An earth-shattering roar came from Whitebeard's mouth, his right fists were tightly clenched together, the veins on his arms were even broken, and a translucent halo appeared on his fists again. Boom! The huge shock fist slammed directly on the undefended Sengoku body, but strangely it did not produce the slightest impact. Whitebeard really had no power to punch, and all his strength was concentrated on the last shock. Hey! Sengoku's whole body is twisted, it looks like space is twisted. Poof! Blood poured out of Whitebeard's mouth, and his right hand dropped, unable to lift it again. Scoff. The slightly dull long sword pierced through the man's chest, and blood gushed out directly from the man's chest. Even if it was elementalized in time, part of the chest was still penetrated. Fortunately, at the same time, the palm emitting a strong cold air had already caught it. Stop the hand holding the sword. Well. Golden Lion's eyes widened, his body was covered in frost, so desperate. Ha is finally caught. The man with the exploding head chuckled, although the price is high, it's over. Absolutely freezing. Quote. Crack. The extreme low temperature permeated, and in an instant, the wind stopped, the falling snow also stopped, and even the sound could not be heard. Golden Lion who was caught, the surprised expression still remained on his face, and a thin layer of frost seemed to cover his body. About 3 seconds. As Kuzan thought so, an ice blade appeared in his hand, and the dark armament hockey covered it. PFF'd. The black ice blade pierced through Golden Lion's chest, directly passing through the heart, and almost at the same time, the lightsaber radiating scorching temperature also pierced through Golden Lion's back, and even pierced Kuzan's body. Hello, Borsellino. Kuzan looked helpless. Sorry. Behind the Golden Lion, Kizaru's unapologetic apology came. It was Logia anyway, and without hockey, it wouldn't hurt. PFF'd. The two of them swung their swords out at almost the same time, and the 2 swords went from the inside out, except for the middle part, almost severing Golden Lion's chest, and even breaking both arms. Hey! Then, Golden Lion regained consciousness, and the terrifying pain came instantly. The ability of the fluttering fruit could no longer be maintained, and it could only fall powerlessly. Call. Kuzan took 2 heavy breaths, his consumption was not low, and he was stabbed in the chest, and he hadn't been hurt for a long time. It's finally resolved. Kizaru looked much better, but looked a little grumpy. Dash 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 dash. Hoo 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 hoo. Ha ha ha. Among the ruins, the two old men were panting heavily, lying on the ground and unable to move any longer. Card. Garp. Writer's voice sounded weak. You guys, your fists are still as strong as ever. Hey, this is the Iron Fist of Justice. Garp also couldn't move, just accept the sanctions honestly. Ha 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 ha. Writer slowly turned over and lay on his back on the ground, his eyes gradually closed and never opened again. No one can punish me. Writer laughed, his voice getting softer and softer. I miss it. The days of fighting with Newgate, Shiki, Roger, you, Sengoku, Zephyr, and the Free Guy. Fighting the day of sin, for me. Garp said, nothing to remember. Ha ha. Writer's voice gradually ceased. I once fought on this sea, really. Beautiful life. The sound stopped there, and there was a huge ruin, only the sound of an old man breathing. Dash 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 dash. Crack. Sengoku fell to the ground and didn't move. Opposite him, Whitebeard's tall body is still standing, like an indomitable giant. Kala la la la. Whitebeard opened his eyes slowly, his voice was very soft, did I win? Sengoku. Oh oh oh. From Whitebeard, a small door opened, a hand stretched out from inside, and a phone bug was placed on it. Just in time. Inside the door, Vlad smiled. Neat. Whitebeard's eyes widened, as if noticing Vlad's movements. What a long journey. I met different people, separated from different people, met countless friends drinking together, and encountered countless enemies fighting each other, saw the most beautiful scenery in the world, and experienced the most wonderful human feelings in the world. Then, I met my dream family, and I really had a wonderful life. Roger, you guy, who are you waiting for? Could it be the Fire Dragon kid? Could it be the kid who inherited your hat? Or the guy who doesn't know where to hide? Really looking forward to it. What will this beautiful sea become? Kula la la la. However, this is no longer our era. This sea has no sea area that can accommodate the ships of the previous era. Next, it's a new era. Marco, Ace, Jozu, Vista, Bramank, Lakyo, Namur, Blenheim, Coolier, Kingudo, Harta, Atmos, Heel, Fosa, and Zhang, and other children, in the next voyage, don't be left behind. The strongest man in the world, who was feared by everyone as a demon, showed a gentle smile. Finally, Roger, let me help you one last time. Eyes widened, the man opened his mouth. One Piece. Facing the phone bug in the distance, the man mustered the last bit of strength and roared, his voice resounding through the sky, even heaven could clearly hear it. It's real. Times have begun to change. Dash 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 dash. I originally planned to talk about the Battle of the Red Earl Golden Lion alone, but let's forget it, it's a bit too procrastinating. Many people are thinking that the author of Shabi hasn't finished writing it yet, right? That's it, the end of one chapter. This chapter is 5,000 words, can you hang it? Chapter 536 Desperate. Damn. Tsuru Vice Admiral's face suddenly gloomy. Whitebeard's words. Marine's efforts are all in vain. This time, Marine's face is really lost. The execution is completely failed. The original expectation of pirates and the world, the effect of deterrence now seems to have been lost because of Whitebeard's words and because of Fire Dragon's live broadcast. This time the war, Marine headquarters, has been completely lost. However, even failures are of different grades, and big defeats and tragic defeats have completely different consequences. Now that Fire Fist and the Straw Hats are off, Tsuru Vice Admiral turned his head and said softly, then, the officials of the Whitebeard Pirates and the Revolutionary Army must stay. Soldiers. Bring Sengoku back. Suru Vice Admiral ordered towards the surrounding marine soldiers. His battle is over, and then, now, it's the final battle. Woo. The man named Sabo breathed a sigh of relief, his expression very solemn. Ace and Luffy have already left, but it seems a little difficult for us to leave. And Mr. Bear. Hip hop, Sabo boy, this time. Standing back to back with Sabo, the Shemale King gasped heavily, I'm afraid. Damn, Dad, Jozu. Marco clenched his fists tightly, looking at the man who was still standing in the distance, and then looking at the diamond Jozu lying on the ground not far away, with a crack on his stomach, a huge hole embedded in it, and the inside of his eyes. The tears gradually seeped out, and a silent cry came out of his mouth. On this side of the square, the battle situation is also very clear. The Pirate Revolutionary Army's combined army is facing the Marine headquarters, and the battle situation is very clear. Ah, damn it. Akainu tilted his head, with a look of extreme anger on his face. Blood was still flowing from the corners of his mouth, have Fire Fist and Straw Hat all gone. The execution is a complete failure. Beside him, Black Arm Zephyr's face was also heavy, and his breathing began to gradually become rapid. Who Marine, disgrace in front of the whole world. The government. At this moment, all Marine executives are worried. After such a thing, what kind of attitude will the government hold towards Marine? There is no doubt that everything planned by the government has been screwed up by Marine, and now even if the Whitebeard pirates can be defeated, the things that cannot be undone cannot be undone. Marine, after all, is an army under the government. Now, just kill these guys. Akainu said coldly, let's save a little bit. Yeah. Zephyr nodded and stepped forward. Damn, Suru Vice Admiral, Black Arm Zephyr, and Akainu. Cold sweat on Lightning's face. Everyone is a famous monster. Do you have to face such an opponent at the same time now? Hey, Bear, can you still get up? Ivankov said loudly. Not far from him, the tall Bartholomew Bear fell to the ground, with a huge hole in his stomach, which was directly pierced by Akainu's magma fist, and the unmodified parts of his internal organs were almost completely gone. Burnt to pieces. At this time, the combat power comparison between the two sides is that the seriously wounded Ivankov, Marco, the lightly wounded Sabo, the Lightning against the seriously wounded Akainu, and the lightly wounded but beginning to get sick Zephyr, the uninjured Suru Vice Admiral, and the surrounding Marine soldiers. No matter how you look at it, it has fallen into a complete disadvantage. Ha! Sabo's face suddenly relieved Isho. I didn't expect it to end like this. Really, it's a pity that the dream of the ideal country has not been realized, but at least let Ace and Luffy go. Hip hop, Sabo boy. Besides Sabo, the Shemale King is also Isho, then let us fight to the death together after a long absence. And me. Lightning emphasizes its own presence. Then. Marco whispered, let's fight together. There is no way out. Marco, the only one who can fly, is also exhausted due to severe injuries, and he can't even transform. Facing Marine's monsters, the only way is to fight to the death, right? Hey. Zephyr exhaled slowly, let out a roar, jumped up, and smashed directly at several people. The robotic arm in his hand was raised high, and it fell heavily. When Sabo raised his steel rod to block Zephyr's blow, and the rod began to sag downward, looking like it would break at any moment. What a great power! Sabo gritted his teeth. Damn it! Zephyr roared, and a stream of blood flowed from his nostrils. Kara! The steel rod broke in an instant, and the huge mechanical arm slammed directly on Sabo's head. Blood spurted out of Sabo's mouth. The real fighting technique master's battle was actually Hockey's battle. Sabo, now 20 years old, compared with Zephyr in terms of Hockey's cultivation, the difference is really incomprehensible. Sob boy, quote. Ivankov shouted. His body had been shot out, and he rushed towards Zephyr, but what greeted him was a fiery magma fist. Hey! Ivankov only had time to put his hands on his chest, and armament hockey covered it, and the magma fist had already blasted him away. Ah, don't mess with it. Akainu swayed, his right fist swung again, and another blow dog-biting Crimson Lotus slammed towards the lightning. Hey! Lightning, who was paying attention to the she-male king, didn't have time to react at all, and was directly wrapped in magma, and the whole person let out an astonishing scream. Damn! Marco's forehead was covered in cold sweat, and the difference in strength was simply too great. Phoenix. Behind Marco, the old woman's dry voice sounded, "Is it worth dying today?" He could feel a hand on his back. Hey! Marco's eyes widened. Give it to me, leave Marco. The dazzling light of the sword flickered, and the powerful slash was imminent. Suru Vice Admiral's surprised eyes flashed, his body retreated abruptly, and his eyes suddenly widened. Are you all right, Marco? In front of Marco, the bearded man holding two knives said solemnly. Vista. Marco's eyes widened. What the hell is going on? Why are you here? Well, because. Vista's expression is not good looking. Clap. 2 gunshots rang out. Zephyr tilted his head sharply, dodging 2 bullets. Not far away, a geisha-like man with 2 guns in his hand looked gloomy. Get out of the way. The chubby figure fell from the sky, and the huge hammer blasted directly at Zephyr. Me. Zephyr's robotic arm was lifted up, but at this time, his eyes suddenly bulged, his arm slowed down, and the man's attack slammed heavily on his robotic arm. The whole person stepped back a few steps, and his body couldn't help with a meal, which was this meal. Sabo, who was already drowsy, seized the opportunity and kicked Zephyr's stomach heavily, and the man was finally repelled. What? Akainu's face flashed with surprise. Whitebeard pirates. Why are you here? In front of him, more than a dozen captains of the Whitebeard pirates suddenly appeared. Che, is that kid Fire Dragon doing the trick again? Crane frowned. Oh, it's scary. Above the sky, such a voice suddenly came, the Whitebeard pirates have actually assembled. Arrow pull. Ice block fell from the sky, and the cold spread everywhere. Does it look like it's coming back right? The real desperation has come. Chapter 537 Marineford out of the big battle. Hey! Shining photons fell from the sky like a river and landed next to Akainu, and a tall and thin man appeared in front of everyone. Oh yo, isn't the timing just right? Kizaru, Borsellino appeared on the battlefield. On the other side, Ice Block, who fell beside Granny Crane, also converged into Kuzan's body. The wound on his chest was directly frozen by the cold air, and there was nothing serious at this moment. Ah, I really can't imagine that the situation has reached such a point. Kuzan scratched his head and looked a little distressed. He also didn't expect that the bear would suddenly turn against the water and slap the fire fist and the straw hat into the air. It's too late to say anything now. Akainu said coldly, don't be stunned. Kill these guys, there's still a red-haired pirate outside. Understood, Akainu. Kizaru's tone was as bizarre as ever, but it's unimaginable that you could be injured so badly. Tisk. Akainu's tone was very unpleasant. If it wasn't for Diamond Jozu's spoiler, Whitebeard would have died long ago, then Sengoku would not have been dragged by Whitebeard, and things would not have developed to such a point. Damn. Ivankov's eyes were horrified. Have Admiral Kizaru, Admiral Kuzan, Marine 3 admirals all arrived. Plus Black Arm Zephyr, Suru Vice Admiral, this time, it's really over. Who? The man with burns all over his body gasped heavily, this time. Desperate, even with the reinforcements of the Whitebeard pirates, the enemy has a greater complement of combat power. With the participation of the 2 headquarters admiral, no matter how you think about it, there is no chance of victory on your side. Great major eruption. Quote. Akainu didn't hesitate at all, and didn't care about his body at all. He raised his hand and a huge incomparable magma fist was blasted out. Hey, such a scale. Ivankov's eyes widened. Is this guy really seriously injured? It was huge, like a hill, and it was a terrifying attack that could instantly bury everyone, including the Whitebeard pirates. Cut. Vista clenched the two swords in his hand. Just give it a try. Even if it can split the magma fist, it can't change the place where the magma falls, and my group still can't run. Vista, let it go. Vista's eyes widened suddenly, and such a voice suddenly came from behind. Hey! The black-red slash shot up into the sky, and the extremely wide slash was like a terrifying slash like a river. Well. Akainu's eyes widened, and a very surprised expression appeared on his face. This guy. The slashing slammed heavily on the top of the magma fist, and the terrifying force instantly split the terrifying magma fist into pieces, turning into pieces of magma bombs and falling everywhere, and the surrounding marine soldiers were instantly devastated, terrifying. High temperatures spread around. In the smoke of gunpowder, one foot stepped heavily on the ground, big military pants, showing half of the calf, with fluffy leg hair on it, and a flip-flop on the foot, which looks very low-shaped, but inexplicably has the feeling of stepping on the ground as stepping on the world, as if the world is shaken. With the only right hand holding the sword, the red-haired man walked out of the gunpowder. Looks just right. Outside Marineford, on top of the shattered ice sheet, Chaton Tokikake looked around in confusion. Where's the man? Why did he disappear all of a sudden? What the hell happened? Damn it. This ability, is that guy Fire Dragon? Him, Momoshiki frowned. Trouble. Go back. Chaton Tokikake said loudly. Gion-chan. Hurry back. Those guys, maybe go. Tisk. Not far away, Hawkeye, who put the knife back on his back, said unhappily, Fire Dragon. I wrote it down. Red hair. Kizaru looked a little surprised. The red-haired pirates. Ah, is that Fire Dragon doing the hell again? In front of the Whitebeard pirates, several cadres of the Revolutionary Army, led by red-haired Shanks, Ben Beckman, Usopp, Reiki Lu, all the cadres of the red-haired pirates are here. Ah, thank him so much. The redhead said, that's a big help. A little bit forward in time, in the green space, Vlad crouched on the deck, looked at the panting golden lion lying on the ground, and said softly, how miserable. Senior Golden Lion, I can't even save you. Save me. Gia haha, haha. Golden Lion smiled weakly. Who asked you to save me? Oh, that's it. Vlad smiled. As you like, your days are over, anyway. Gia ha ha ha, cough cough. Blood poured out of Golden Lion's mouth, but the man's eyes were still as sharp as a lion's. Now is your time. Kid. That's not it. Vlad smiled, of course. Little devil, are you going to be One Piece, King of Pirates? Golden Lion asked. I'm sure. Vlad replied. Gia ha, ha, ha. Golden Lion began to vomit blood, and then his breath became lower and lower. By the way, Senior Golden Lion. Vlad said, you're going to die anyway, so give me your power. Quote. Finally, he opened his eyes and glanced at Vlad from the corner of his eye. The man's mouth had a hint of joking. I refuse. The man finally lost his voice. Oh. Vlad smiled. Thanks then. Captain, when are we going? Behind Vlad, Thor Enel looked a little unhappy. We didn't do anything in such a grand war. Don't worry. Vlad held a fruit in his hand and whispered, there is one more thing to do with us. Well, before that, there are still two things to do. First, let's get the red hair in. Dash 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 dash. Trouble, red-haired pirates. Suru Vice Admiral frowned in distress. If we start a war now, it's really hard to tell the outcome. Zephyr and Akainu have already exceeded their limits. Even if they can win, the loss will definitely not be small. Do you want to fight? Hee, it looks like we're here by coincidence. Suru Vice Admiral turned his head, and a group of people had already run towards this side, led by an ordinary-looking marine soldier. Well, Kuzan next to him was a little surprised. Of course, the unremarkable marine soldier was a member of CP0. He was not surprised, but the guys behind him were very surprising. Behind that guy, in addition to the CP0 members dressed like him, there are actually escaped prisoners from the 6th floor of the big prison who are still wearing prison uniforms. Although the number is not many, there are indeed several 6th floors. The members of Crescent Moon followed behind him, including but not limited to Big Barrel, Crescent Moon Hunter. What is this? Kuzan was surprised. Don't be surprised, Mr. Kuzan. The leader of CP0 had a smile on his face. They are no longer prisoners, their crimes have been pardoned by the government, and they are now members of CP0. What? Crane's eyes suddenly widened. You said, what? Hey, that is, Suru Vice Admiral. The man with a cigarette in his mouth, Yu Ziliu chuckled, we are not criminals now. We are already members of CP0. What the hell are you doing? Granny Crane was very angry. Don't worry about it, Suru Vice Admiral, the other guys who don't want to cooperate with the government have already been purged anyway, so you see. The smiling man turned his head to look at the red hair. Isn't our battle strength enough now? No one saw, behind Whitebeard's body, a hand holding an apple stretched out from the door on the void. Ahaha, Senior Whitebeard, I'm here to collect the payment. Of course, the promise will be fulfilled immediately. Chapter 538 War is over. It's troublesome. Beside the red hair, Ben Beckman whispered, Shanks, we have no advantage in terms of combat power, and now there is such a group of spoilers. Don't worry, Beckman. The redhead smiled, with a hearty smile on his face, it'll be alright. I don't know why you are so confident. Beckman exhaled a smoke ring. Are you the redhead Shanks? Sabo wiped the blood from the corners of his nostrils and mouth, with a smile on his face. It's been famous for a long time. That kid Luffy used to tell your stories in front of me before. My brother is really taken care of by you. Does Luffy have a brother? Shanks was taken aback. I thought Ace was the only brother. Well, for some reason. Sabo replied. Ha, what a pity. Shanks laughed. It's not right now, otherwise I'll have a good drink. Oh. Sabo has an embarrassed look. As a pure revolutionary, Sabo doesn't like drinking very much. However, the current situation. The redhead turned his head. The current situation is really not optimistic. The 3 Admiral from Marine Headquarters, the former Admiral Zephyr, the big staff Crane, the CP0 agents, the big criminal on the 6th floor, and the Chaton Tokikake Mamasagi. This situation sucks no matter how you look at it. Even the red hair pirates have absolutely no reason to win. It's really troublesome. Redhead, since you dare to come to this place, you must be ready to die in battle. Suru Vice Admiral said solemnly. That can't be done. The red-haired smiled. I haven't seen enough of this sea. Now is not the time for me to quit. It's not up to you. Suru Vice Admiral said in a low voice. The matter is now. There is no more control, the criminal is the criminal. Now, as long as it is the power that can be used, is it really good to destroy the red-haired pirates? The balance would be disrupted, and Marine would suffer heavy losses. Ahaha, it's so lively. Suddenly, such a voice came from the sky, and the fiery red dragon was suspended in the air, looking like a leisurely stroll. Fire Dragon. The way Akainu gritted his teeth. It was this man who made this execution fail. It's finally here. Redhead laughed. Everyone of the Whitebeard pirates, how are you? Vlad smiled. I'm here to save you. Fire Dragon. Marco looked up at Vlad, a little surprised. What the hell are you going to do? Not good. Suru Vice Admiral's face changed. The power of the Fire Dragon pirates was able to transfer the Whitebeard pirates and the red-haired pirates here. And of course they could also move them away. Hey. Vlad smiled, the flames rose up, the body was directly covered by the flames, and the Jurong mode was launched again. Marine, pirates, Revolutionary Army, and all the people in the world, listen to me. Now it's up to Lao Su, Fire Dragon Vlad. Vlad laughed loudly. It's up to me to announce that this war is the top war that brings together most of the world's forces. Come here, it's over. Ahaha. As everyone can see, the government, Marine, has failed completely. Click. The ground slammed downwards, and the Whitebeard Pirates group, several high-ranking members of the Revolutionary Army, and the red-haired group all fell down and disappeared on the Marineford land in an instant. Damn. Akainu's Icanthus was completely split. Asshole. Kizaru couldn't help but swear. No way. Kuzan was a little confused. Stop them. The agents of CP0 responded very quickly, and led the new members of CP0 behind to rush towards the door that was closing. Ahahaha. Don't even think about it. Vlad laughed, the flames rose from his body, and the ring behind him began to transform. Hephaestus, dragon with candles, 9 dragons flurry. The flames began to converge behind Vlad, and then changed, and 9 fire lines spread out, spewing out towards Marineford below. Then, just in an instant, 9 lifelike fire dragons had already descended from the sky, and they slammed towards Marineford with their claws and claws, covering the sky and the sun, as if the end had come. As soon as the fire dragon appeared, it seemed that the entire island was set on fire. Damn. Marine on the ground, the CP0 rage value has been bursting, but this has nothing to do with Vlad. When the people below are busy with the fire dragon falling from the sky, a door has been opened behind him, and he drilled directly go in. At this point, the war on the top, which attracted the attention of the whole world, officially came to an end. The Marine headquarters was completely defeated, all the execution targets escaped, and the elite Marine soldiers were killed and injured countless times. It is foreseeable that Marine's combat power will be in a long period of time. A fault occurs. The Fortress of Justice, Marine's headquarters has been turned into ruins directly. The place where justice has been maintained for hundreds of years has now become a sea of fire. With the particularity of Vlad's flame, Marineford cannot be stopped without burning it into nothingness. Marshal Marine, Sengoku the Buddha, Hero Marine, Garp the Fist seriously wounded and dying, Admiral Akainu, ex-Admiral Zephyr, lost consciousness immediately after the battle. One was seriously injured, the other was an outbreak of disease. Admiral Kuzan, badly wounded to the chest, Vice Admiral of the headquarters. 6 people were killed in the battle, and almost all the 100,000 Marine elites gathered from all over the world were killed, which can be described as heavy casualties. But at the same time, the results of the Marine headquarters are equally astonishing. The Blue Sea's strongest pirate group, the Whitebeard Pirates, were beaten to pieces. The world's strongest man, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, died in battle. Whitebeard, the captain of the 3rd Division of the pirate group, Diamond Jozu, died in battle, and his 43 pirate groups destroyed 15. The great pirate of the previous era who escaped from the big prison, Red Earl, Patrick Redfield, died in battle. The man who dominated the previous era, Golden Lion, died in battle. Revolutionary Army cadre, former Shichibukai Bartholomew Bear, died in battle. The huge war that shocked the whole world lasted less than a morning, but it produced huge results that shocked the whole world, and therefore, had a profound impact on the situation all over the world. But now, none of these effects have spread, and a series of huge waves are brewing. The huge pirate ship sails away, the pirate ship, on the Red Foss. Vlad sat leisurely on the side of the boat. Woo-ha-ha-ha-ha. This time is the perfect move. The face of the Marine headquarters has been disgraced. What's going to happen next? A new pirate frenzy is coming soon. The death of Senior Whitebeard, the road to the throne is finally swept away. Hey. Vlad smiled. Is it almost there? The only king is about to appear, right? Perhaps. With a faint smile on the redhead's face, he threw a bottle of wine over. The times have indeed begun to run wild. Ji-yu dong 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 dong. Vlad poured a sip of wine into his mouth and smiled. Ha, this sea will only get more and more exciting. Fire dragon, thank you. Marco, who was already covered in bandages, came over and thanked softly. No. Vlad waved his hand, it's just a deal, Senior Whitebeard has already paid me, I didn't mean to save you. What? Marco frowned. Well, just remember. Vlad smiled, the next time we meet in the new world, we might be enemies. That's the same for you, Mr. Shanks. Of course. The redhead smiled, I'll wait. Okay. Vlad stood up, are you going to the Sabayati archipelago? I'll go first. I still have work to do. Go on. The redhead held up the bottle with a smile on his face. Click. The door to the air was closed, and Vlad had disappeared in front of everyone. Ha, Luffy, come on. Redhead smiled. The opponent is beyond imagination. Chapter 539 Dragon in Mariajoy. What? On the huge warship, Suru Vice Admiral said with great surprise, Mariajoy was invaded. Whoa, what are you kidding? Sitting on the side with the old god, Kizaru, who was not injured at all, looked a little confused, that Mariajoy, the seat of the world government, the center of the world, was actually invaded again. PFF. As if finding out that he had said something funny, Kizaru burst out laughing. Be quiet, Borsellino. Sitting aside, the man with bandages on his body, Kuzan said solemnly. Ah, yes, Lord Kuzan. Kizaru pulled his hand over his mouth knowingly, signaling that he would not speak again. The intruder is. Mimi laughing CP0 members chuckled, that dragon. Dragon. Kuzan frowned. Not good. Marshal Sengoku and Garp Vice Admiral. Suddenly, such a voice came from the door. The situation is very bad. Quote. Dash 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 dash. Back in time a few hours ago, when the war in Marineford was in full swing, another place, the headquarters of the world government, the gathering place of world power, the gathering place of Tenryubito, here, Mariajoy. In a white town, in a corridor, a man in a black suit and a top hat paced slowly, turned a corner, and faced a group of men in black suits and fully armed men who were also in a hurry. Vivi, a group of people who came, nodded in greeting, and the man passed by the group of people seriously. What a slack. The man didn't look back. If he looked to the other side, he could see a prominent tattoo on his left cheek. The man's name was Dragon, Monkey. Dragon. He was a revolutionary, the Army of Freedom, and the commander of the Revolutionary Army. The eyes of the whole world were on Marineford. Dragon did not stay in his hometown honestly, but decided to take a trip to Mariajoy on Vlad's suggestion. It didn't go far, and after a few turns, Dragon had come to a somewhat dark corridor. In front of it was a huge red gate. 2 guards stood meticulously in front of the gate. Well, it's here, right? The final goal is here, right? Dragon smiled and pulled a map out of his pocket. The archives, what the hell is going on here? Stop, you are. The guard who looked at the dragon walking straight up was a little surprised and came over and wanted to interrogate him, but before he could speak, his head had already slammed into the wall under the influence of some invisible force, and his eyes were directly white. Instantly lost consciousness. What? Seeing that his partner was knocked down, the other guard's eyes suddenly widened, and a roar was about to come out of his mouth. Quote. However, no matter how loud the guards were, no matter how loud he was, no sound came out. Then, the guard's expression became more and more ugly, his face began to flush red, and the hand on his neck was very painful. Please be quiet. With a smile on his face, Dragon walked to the guard's side and patted the guard's head lightly, and the guard fainted on the ground. Crack. Gently patted on the door, Doradian instantly fell to the ground softly, and quickly took 2 steps back to stabilize his body, with a wry smile on his face. Trouble, Seastone, S-Gate. Seastone not only has a miraculous effect on those with ability, but also has super hardness, which is far harder than steel, and definitely cannot be easily opened violently. In this case, Dragon looked hesitant. It's not easy to get in. It's not easy. It's not that Dragon can't open this door, but once you want to violently open this door, it will definitely cause a huge movement, then the plan of Mariajoy's day trip will come to an end. Well, what about this? Dragon raised his right hand, an invisible cyclone began to form on his hand, and then, a sharp bang began to resound, an invisible drill had formed on his hand. Dragon didn't set his target on the seastone gate. His target was the wall next to him. It was like a hot knife cutting butter. The solid stone wall shattered in an instant, and it turned into powder before the blink of an eye. A huge hole has been exposed in front of Dragon. Really? Dragon stopped, and the wall in front of him was also made by seastone, so don't think about it. This archive room was entirely made by seastone, and it was an indestructible existence for those who were capable. Can't get in? Then forget it. This time the harvest is enough. Dragon smiled and turned his head. And da. A series of footsteps came from the other end of the corridor. Led by an old man, a group of black suits followed closely, which had blocked the corridor. It's still found. There was a slight smile on Dragon's face. You guy. The old man with a knife in his hand looked surprised. Dragon. You are. Dragon frowned. Is it someone like you who did the Gorosei, 5 elders? You actually sneaked into Mariajoy. You bastard, you are so unscrupulous. Knife-wielding Gorosei, 5 elders said angrily. What the hell did you do? What did you do? Nothing was done. Dragon said solemnly. What I want to do is still being realized little by little. Isn't what I want to do obvious from the beginning? You were the one who caused the commotion at Tenryubito's gathering place before, wasn't it? Gorosei, 5 elders whispered. Tenryubito is so angry. You bastard. Where did you get it? Hey ha 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 ha. Dragon suddenly burst out laughing. What? Are you actually watching Tenryubito? Gorosei, 5 elders. But don't worry, it's not a big deal, it's just Tenryubito's inherent arrogance. Forget it, Dragon, since you've come here, don't leave. Sword-wielding Gorosei, 5 elders drew the sword in their hands. Stay here. Dragon, the world would be more peaceful without you. What's the use of such a false peace? Living in ignorance and vainness, trembling in the shadow of the world's nobles. Dragon said coldly, does this count as peace? Stop talking nonsense here. Sword-wielding Gorosei, 5 elders said angrily, who do you think will maintain the peace of the world? If there is no government, the world will end. There. The terrifying wind rose into the sky, the ceiling above shattered instantly, the huge void appeared in just a moment, and the sky appeared. The presence of government is necessary, however. Dragon said solemnly, there is no need for such a government. Wow. Blink of an eye, Dragon had disappeared from the corridor. Damn. The expression on the face of the sword-wielding Gorosei, 5 elders was furious. Go back and tell Tenryubito. Dragon's voice is still echoing. In this turbulent sea, there is no sea area that can accommodate them. This guy. Gorosei, 5 elders, expression turned serious. What on the other side did you get? Chapter 540 Attack. Ahahaha. Above the sky, the huge pirate ship was going very fast. Vlad sat on the dragon head on the bow, smiling. This time there is no regret. There are 2 fruits in his left and right hands, of course not the other fruits. They are the shaking fruit that Vlad brought from Senior Whitebeard and the fluttering fruit from Senior Golden Lion. Doubtful, even if these 2 fruits are placed among the devil fruits in the Paramesha column, which are frequented by freaks, they are the 2 devil fruits at the top, as well as a meatball fruit from the bear. It's not too much concern. After all, compared with these 2, it's too far behind. It can easily cause a sea earthquake, set off huge waves, and shatter the earthquake fruit of the island. Of course, there is no need to say how powerful it is. Vlad is more concerned about the fruit in his left hand, the fluttering fruit, which is the most powerful. The most important fruit ability, What was the biggest advantage of the Platinum D-Drake before it got the ability to travel through the void? Of course, it is able to fly. In this era when everyone is honestly sailing on the sea, being able to fly in the air is really very advantageous. And the fluttering fruit can do even more amazing things. After all, no matter how you look at it, letting a ship fly into the sky doesn't make it exciting for an island to fly into the sky, right? The strategic significance of the fluttering fruit is far superior to that of the Junjun fruit. Captain, are you going to enter the new world next? Behind Vlad, the cook leaned on the cabin and whispered, "Start our real journey." Yeah, then there is no time for a leisurely afternoon tea. Vlad turned his head and smiled. The next step is to enter the new world. However, before entering the new world, there are 2 more things to do. 2 things. The maid leaned on the side of the boat, slowly exhaled 2 smoke rings, and said softly, "What's the matter?" The first. Vlad smiled, took out a piece of paper from his pocket, and the piece of paper lying flat in his hand was constantly moving forward. This was a piece of paper called Vivre card, which could be used in the vast world find out the magical card of its owner. "We've got to go and get some guy here first," Vlad said. "Anyway, we have already torn our face with the government, and there is no need to be afraid. Hey, now is the time." "Then, Captain, you've broken up with the government?" Chef asked. "What about our partners?" "Moria has left the Devil's Triangle. What should Mr. Going do? As our partner, the government will not appease him." "What do you say? Who is our partner?" Vlad smiled. "Didn't Emperor Going break with us now? I just plan to take away his property through a double agent." "Captain." The chef looked a little helpless. Don't worry," Vlad said solemnly. "The government doesn't have time to take care of him now. Marine has been hit unimaginably hard. Almost all of the 100,000 Marine elites have been wiped out. These guys are the main force against pirates in the world. Without them, the world will be lively again, and the government is now in a mess, right? Not to mention, Marshal Sengoku should be dead, right? Marine's new marshal candidate is also a big problem, Akainu. Kizaru, Kuzan. The government will not make any big moves. Our time, Tessero's time, is full. Then, let's go." Vlad stood up and said with a smile, "This time will indeed be the time when the guards around that person are the most slack." Call. The ship sailed away with the wind. The windless belt of the Great Route, not far from the Marine headquarters, surrounded by the lair of the Sea Kings, there is a deserted island, which does not exist on the chart, and there are only a handful of people in the world who know this place. Numbers, it looks like a deserted island with nothing, but there is a real strong guarding force here. Although it is not famous, no one would have thought that this is the headquarters of the Marine headquarters, where the scientific troops are stationed. Below this island, countless black technologies converge in this place. If the Marine headquarters of the Marine headquarters represents the world's #1 armed group, then this small island represents the world's first scientific and technological group. No one knows how many scientists are gathered here, and no one knows how much power is hidden here. Here, like the Marine headquarters, it is an important support for the government to rule this sea. However, today, there is a group of people here, a group of people with bad intentions. It's finally here. Above the sky, Vlad looked at the piece of paper in the palm of his hand that had been drilling down, and heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't expect it to be so close. And it's actually in the windless zone, but it's no wonder, it's really safe in this way. It is difficult to reach, and Marine can also support at any time. It is a good place. Quote. Yeah, ha ha ha, what a daring one, Captain. Behind Vlad, Enel laughed loudly. How dare you attack this man? Shoot that man. Vlad grinned. What nonsense. God, that man is indeed my target, but this island is also my target. Huh. Enel was a little confused. Let's go. Didn't you tell me? Vlad smiled. Our battle is in this place. Clear out all the enemies on the island. This island, I want it. D-Drag. Gate of opening. Fred exclaimed. Hi yo. The fiery red elf emerged from the deck and landed on Vlad's shoulder. In front, the door suddenly opened, the green space was exposed, and the huge pirate ship rushed towards it. In a huge laboratory on the island, a man is doing an experiment. On the metal experiment table, there is a robot lying brightly. Ah, really, what happened to the shaking just now? The man said to himself, looking a little distressed. It's really troublesome, isn't the preparatory work done before completely in vain? Trouble, we have to start from scratch again. Is it Whitebeard's ability? The man's name is Vegapunk. He stood up straight, and whispered to himself, awesome. I really want to study it. Such an ability feels amazing. Should Whitebeard be dead? Vegapunk chuckled. After all, the opponent is the Marine Headquarters. The Marine Headquarters that has never lost in 800 years. You guessed it right, Dr. Vegapunk. Such a voice suddenly came from behind. Senior Whitebeard is indeed dead. Yeah. You are. Vegapunk turned his head, a little surprised.